fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go.
Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to SimSpeed TV, here with a brand new series for us as a broadcaster. But this series is certainly not new to the iRacing community here in Australia and New Zealand. We welcome the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series community to the SimSpeed stables, brought to you for season number 6 by the guys at simrigs.com. My name is Daniel Yeaman. I'm joined by Jay Kennedy in the commentary box, doubling up with production tonight. And it's the first round of a brand new championship for the Oz Pro-Am community. And we head to the Circuit de la Sarre for the Le Mans configuration tonight. And despite the fact that we'll be seeing GT3 machinery later in the season, it's a fantastic little format tweak where for this first round, Jay, we're going to be seeing completely different car classes, GT1 and GT4, out on track to get the series underway tonight. Oh, just the issues.
There we
just
go.
in the
Fixed
background.
Fixed it in the background. Windows settings, always resetting microphones. Hello, everybody. Yeah, I've been really excited to have this series finally launch here on SimSpeed. We've been talking about it for a little while, and it's been great to have the guys from AusPASS come over and join the SimSpeed stable, and very, very excited to see what they have in regards to the racing. We've heard lots about it, but other commitments meant we haven't really been able to see too much of the racing, but things have fallen into place, and we've been able to get these guys on board on SimSpeed, and it's very, very exciting to have them as part of the series for season 6 of AusPASS.
Indeed, it's a series that has been steadily building itself into a recognised brand name amongst the community here, and back once again for another season lined up full of racing action, plenty of different round formats, and also this interesting little what they call the Wildcard format, as to give us completely different car classes to what the primary series was built around, to just mix things up a little bit here, as we're currently in the midst of qualifying, Jay, and with the first of our 2 race groups tonight. This is the Pass 2 category, or league, if you will, which is more of a, is open, I believe, to drivers who wish to join, depending on availability. Although, fortunately, I think I might not be 100% certain on that one there, so apologies to the AusPASS crew if I'm getting that one slightly wrong there in terms of the way Pass 2 is set up and its intention is. But we've got a couple of weeks here, so hopefully we'll be all over the top of that kind of stuff as the series goes on. But then later on tonight, we'll be get into the main Oz Pro-Am League, which is the a select group of drivers based on pre-season qualifying to make the cut based on lap times. So approaching now 6 minutes ago in qualifying for the Pass 2 class, or the Pass 2 league tonight. Jay, we only have the GT4 class in action. We will see both this GT4 class and the GT1 class, the yesteryear GT cars of the early 2000s, on track together. Although it is free choice for the drivers in the Pro-Am League later on as to whether they want to run in GT4 or in GT1. So we'll be curious to see if we get a relatively even multi-class split, or if we see one of those 2 iRacing classes dominate the other in terms of numbers tonight.
We've talked about it before in multi-class racing when there's even points as well, where strategically picking a class can really help you get a big inroad in the championship too. So we have one more wildcard round later on in the season, which will be really, really different cars with the Audi GTO and the Ford Mustang. So absolute polar opposites in regards to pace. Pace-wise, Chad Lewis absolutely flying at the moment out there. He will get one more lap. Of course, this running heat format means that the qualifying session will hard cut as soon as the checkered flag is waved. So if you're not on your flying lap now, you probably don't have enough time to actually go and start one.
Well, you can see here, pole time is a 4:21.5. So a couple of drivers are still coming around on course, but it looks like the number 17, as we see here, of Matt Andrews in the BMW M4 will be the last car most likely to be able to get a chance to start this run. He puts down a 4:21.519. Was it a valid lap? Yes, it was. To the top of the timing charts he goes, nudging off Chad Lewis by just 2/100ths of a second. And he's got just enough time. He's just got across the line in time here to have one final crack at it. So the BMW M4 delivering the goods here for the number 17. Chad Lewis is in the Porsche Cayman tonight, so we're curious to see, does he have anything in that car left to make one final run at it? As we look here at GT Williams, and you can see here the McLaren 570S GT4 out on track tonight, and also donning a Repsol Honda paint scheme tonight, coming down into the Ford chicanes to end his lap. He's a little off pace here maybe, unless I'm just not familiar with GT4 driving. Doesn't look like he's really attacking the curbs here. Across the line, I'm not quite sure this one's going to count, or if it does, it's been a conservative lap from Williams to ensure it's on the board. And in fact, there it is. Comes into P7 on a 4:25.2. So perhaps they're more so the fact of just ensuring the lap was on the board there without any mistakes. Will mean that that's as good as he's going to get in the qualifying, but a couple more drivers have a little bit of time here to put one on the board for us, Jay.
Yeah, a couple of drivers who are in that mid-pack still have a chance, but as we saw at the very, very start, Mark Frost, you got Brady Buchanan here, you got just behind him Ben Pollock as well. Chad Lewis will get one more run at it as well. 999 of Matt Hardigan as well will get a run at this, as well as Anthony Connors as well. Very, very close for Matt Andrews whether he'll get across the line to complete this next lap. Going to be borderline, but if he does, it looks like it's going to be a half-decent lap once again. Sector time's looking very, very strong for he, and also for Chad Lewis as well. And Ben Pollock as well, also looking very, very good on the sector split times as well.
Just having a look at it now, purple sector in that first part of the lap goes to the number 17 of Chad Lewis. 7/10ths clear. Matt Andrews, sorry, not Chad Lewis, pardon me. The 17 is Matt Andrews. We'll try it again. Purple sector in sector 1 goes to Matt Andrews as the number 17 BMW. 7/10ths clear for just about anyone else by the looks of things, so it's absolutely blinder. In fact, unfortunately, Ben Pollock, 2.5 seconds slower through sector 1. Responded with a purple in sector 2 for the 86 Cayman, who we've got here on screen, but his times in the rest of the lap not quite hooked up here. So I think Matt Andrews is on track here with 1 purple and 2 personal bests to improve on his provisional pole time as we head up the road here to number 16 again of Brady Buchanan. Seeing a couple of personal bests here for Buchanan, but a couple of tenths here and there lost in other sectors. So should be on, I think, to improve on a 4:23.6. By how much, we're yet to see, but not long left as he brings the car down into the Ford chicanes. Not too much curb usage, so opting to keep it nice and smooth and steady. And then through the final chicane at the Ford complex here. What's this car got for us across the line? I think he'll get into that. He'll jump up into the 422s.
Nice.
And a 422.8 is valid and gets himself up a position there into P4 provisionally. Meanwhile, just saw there in behind the 86 of Ben Pollock, not able to improve, so stays. Well, actually, it was a 4:27 that last lap, but oh, so close for Chad Lewis, just a 10th off, improving there. So looks like it's more or less down here to Matt Andrews. What can he do to finish the lap off? He's at 2 purple sectors now, 3 personal bests in that BMW M4. Impressively enough, the personal bests have, the purple sectors, pardon me, have not come on the sectors that are purely associated with the run down the Mulsanne Straight, or the run to Indianapolis a little bit there as well. So this car seems to be handling quite well, Jay, which is, I guess, a bit of a surprised given that the Cayman is well renowned for being, generally speaking, the better handler of the two. The BMW is a bit of a bruiser as, into the 4 chicanes. Eat my words, I guess, because that car just got all out of control. Still on, I think, for a chance to improve on the 421.5 as he comes across the line. Oh, goodness me. Make that a full second improvement, Jay, as he comes across the line, 20 seconds left on the clock, and basically secures himself provisional pole.
Imagine what the lap would have been if he didn't ruin that final sector as well. It would have been an incredibly good lap time. We've got Troy Mortensen, the next driver who will come up to the line, but he won't get there in time. Checkered flag will fly. And that is qualifying done for the first round of the season.
Indeed. Good to see here. As we now jump to the grid, we've got a 10-minute heat race coming up for Pass 2 here. So let's run us through the grid once again. Matt Andrews storms to pole position on a 420.5 in his BMW M4. Chad Lewis will have to line up alongside him in P2, but that should be hopefully potential there to get the draft down the lengthy straights here at the Circuit de la Sarre. Chester Lamb will be starting out position number 3 with David Leslie alongside him in P4. It's Brady Buchanan and Mark Foster to round out our top 6. Times there, good to see, relatively close once we get past the top 2, who look like they're going to have breakaway pace here tonight. Anthony Connors starting out at position number 7 will be alongside Ben Pollock in P8. Hilton Booth alongside Matt Hardigan in P9, and then it's GT Williams, in 11th with Jesse White-Carrick starting alongside him in position number 12. 2 more drivers to set qualifying times were Simon Dwyer in the 2:56. He'll start 13th with Troy Mortensen in 14th, the last car to set a time, leaving us with a handful of drivers at the back of the field with Owen Coleman, Corey Brand, Hendrik Krasinga, Greg Holmes, Aaron Maguire, and Timothy Orty, if they're all racing tonight, yet to set times, although looks like the number 53 of Timothy Orty not currently registered as in session, so might have had an issue there, or registered but not had a chance to actually jump on the computer. So it looks like we might be starting here with 19 cars for Pass 2 in the season opener here, Jay.
Still a decent field. 2 short races, so it means that the racing will go by very, very quick and will be very, very hectic. I love these nice short sprint races, so we'll probably see a 3-lap race for race 1 and then maybe a 6-lap race, 5 or 6 lap race for race 2. Be very, very borderline on which one of those it will be, but very, very cool to watch GT4s and GT1s around this track. I'm glad that the wildcard of GT4, GT1 was selected at this track, because it could have been a little bit, I don't know what the right word to say, a little bit more of the norm if we just saw GT3 racing here. So I think it's very, very cool we've got this. And one thing I love about the GT4 series on iRacing, as well as GT3 and GT1 racing on iRacing, is the mix of brands that we see in each race. Top 4 have all 3 manufacturers within it, which is always cool to see.
Indeed. BMW on pole, 2 Porsches to complement them, and one of our McLarens there with David Leslie in the 555. So despite the fact that these cars all have very much different philosophies and characteristics when driving, indeed, they can be worked to get similar lap times, as we've seen here. But now as the cars make their way here on the formation through the Porsche curves, it'll take a little while here for us to get starting orders. So a little bit of time here for these drivers to just get these cars rolling and get prepared for the race here. Indeed, should be looking at 3 laps for that heat race. I was thinking it might be 2, depending on how things go once they start this one. But given that we are only just over 4 minutes, that will mean we should be comfortably getting a 3rd lap with the white flag here. So we head down towards the start-finish line here at the Circuit de la Sarre. French Air Force flying overhead with the national colours on display. So we now wait for the iRacing pace car to roll off into pit lane, which it will do so a little later on than you might think, given that we've already passed by pit entry. But one of the quirks of the automatic pace car is it'll pull off here at the final chicane. And we now are in the hands of the race leader. Matt Andrews has gone early. The green flag flies, and Oz Pro-Am Sim Series is underway for Season 6, but it's already trouble for the 86 of Ben Pollock. He's around and going to have to be stone dead last as the field makes its way up the front straight, drafting aplenty as the front 2 Porsches begin to absolutely pester the back end of that number 17 J into the Dunlop chicane for the first time here tonight.
Very, very wide there runs Chester Lamb to try and get the move done, and he does. So Chester Lamb gaining a spot Chad Lewis dropping one. David Leslie's dropped back a little bit as well, just to make sure that he didn't get involved in any lap 1 shenanigans. But other than that spin for Ben Pollock, looks like the rest of the field has gone through okay, right on cue as I say that. Commentator's curse is real. It's Simon Dwyer around.
Not the way the 256 would want this race to start, because now it puts him well off the back of the train, unfortunately. So now here comes the game. Who can get that exit off the Tetra Rouge just right, so that they're maximising the corner without killing the run thanks to the slowdown from iRacing. That will be important later on lap 2, I do think, as the car is already up into top gear. Even the GT4 class is a little bit obviously constrained by power and gearing configurations, but nevertheless, the revs rise here as we ride on board with the number 4. Pardon me, that's the number 1 of Chad Lewis we're on board with here. Down the back straight to the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. He's going to be up the inside on the brakes. Hold 1, make it 2, and then there's contact for good measure behind. I think Chad Lewis has just got that pulled up, but side by side. Oh, hectic. It's on race 1, lap 1. Not even a third of a way around the track here, Jay, and they're getting the elbows out already.
Love it. Love to see the elbows out. I mean, we don't like seeing contact, but we don't mind seeing aggressive racing. I mean, with such a short race, no surprise to see the elbows are out as well. It's a very, very short race. As we said, it's only going to be 3 laps in length. And have a look at how much the field has split after that spin at the start for Simon Dwyer. Meant the field has fractured very, very quickly into 2 groups. Come up into the second of the chicanes as Anthony Connors gets hip and shouldered out of the way.
Oh dear, trouble. That's a disaster for number 14. Oh, he looks to rejoin, but here comes that second pack that we're talking about. So to the rear he will have to go, and that's another driver who's been taken out of that train, but to make it worse, to be given the meatball flag for good measure.
Oh, no.
The same has been said for the 555 of David Leslie, and that's who we can see there just coming, or about to come over the rise in that McLaren 570S, and he has to watch as the field comes on by. That is not what he would like to see. Hilton Booth in the 488 also copped a slowdown. So has the 777 of Jesse White Carrigan, the number 2 of GT Williams, on the entry into the Mulsanne corner. So possibly swinging it out there a little wide to try and open corner entry, and that's just going to hurt them now because they become the leaders of the second pack. And just watch the field though, as they're just finishing the slowdown clears. Oh, 3 wide on lap number 1. The number 19 of Owen Coleman says, I'm coming through, and not waiting around any moment longer to get that job done. Lots ahead of Troy Mortensen, the 83 came in, and in fact behind them now, the 421. It's Aaron Maguire looking up and over the curbs as we head down the run. The first time to Indianapolis and Arnage for this pack of cars. And no takers though, as we all head single file in here, which is probably good to see. In fact, there's another one of our BMW M4s. In fact, liveried exactly the same as our Polestar and Andrews, but that is the number 3 of Hendrik Kruzinga. Apologies there if I'm getting that surname a little garbled as we head back to the front of the field, Jay, and it's now a top 3 breakaway as, oh dear, more trouble for the 256 of Simon Dwyer on the exit of Indianapolis. That car is now starting to take a couple of beatings that it probably didn't want and probably doesn't deserve.
Interesting thing with this battle that we're watching here, that secondary group, top 10 invert in this second race tonight as well. So big difference in finishing 10th and 11th. 10th and 11th, not a huge difference in a normal race, but starting for race 2 on pole or in 11th is a huge difference. So wanting to make sure you finish in that top 10. Finishing 11th is not the position you want in this race. At the moment, GT Williams is in that magic 11th position. We approach the end of the first lap as that's a move there for Ben Pollock making his way back through the field. A very nice move he's made.
Oh, meanwhile, at the back of the field, more dramas. Number 14, Anthony Connors, trying to get that car back to the pit lane. And unfortunately, has come unstuck in the Porsche curves and said no more. Toes back to pit lane, and no escape rule does not apply in this series, so drivers are encouraged to get out of the way if an incident occurs. And so we are left now with one less driver out on track, unfortunately. Going to jump to a quick virtual racing school replay to have a look at the race start. And in fact, it was the 14 of Anthony Connors turning down a little bit there on the 86 of Ben Pollock, perhaps from that camera angle at least. We might see if we can get another angle of that one there just to see if that validates the presumption I'm making about how that race start has gotten underway for those 2 cars there, Joe.
Yeah, and we'll just also see what happened here to Simon Dwyer as well. Remember, we said that group splintered very, very quickly after the spin at the start. And then it splintered further after this, but it looks like this has been a solo incident. cold tyres, hitting the curb on the power. Didn't like it too much, a little bit too unsettled around he went, so that's a bit unfortunate. Go back to the front of the field live, because it is side by side down the Mulsanne straight.
That it is. Change of position has occurred now. Matt Andrews up ahead of Chad Lewis. He's able to stay ahead under the brakes. The big BMW M4 able to pull itself up in time for the first of the Mulsanne chicanes and take back the race lead. But drafting battle to resume here. What can Chad Lewis do with the spot behind us? We've now got 2 wide plus 1 for position number 3. Chester Lamb in the number 80 leads the train. Brady Buchanan behind him, and Mark Foster was with them, but a slowdown for the number 500 on the way down the straight. Oh no, but in the background there, we're talking about the driver looking in on the top 10. GT Williams, one of our McLarens in the field, has gone around and has had to recover that car. He now sits 16th place, and it's making the top 10 position for Ben Pollock just that little bit more safer. Gap up to almost 2.5 seconds at this stage, Jay. So less pressure behind, and he can now start focusing on looking forward at the number 19 of Owen Coleman. And, oh, goodness me, in the background, shot.
Hardigan.
The number 999 of Matt Hardigan has just gone absolutely wild off the exit of the second Mulsanne and has sent that car straight back to pit lane. Time to have a look at the virtual racing school replay. First up, GT Williams. Oh, unfortunately, all by himself. The car breaks free at the rear. GT4 class, a little bit of aero, a little bit of driver aids, slick tyres, but not enough to keep that rear end planted, unfortunately. And then for the 999, just bouncing up over the curb, and, well, power down is tempting at these Mulsanne chicanes, but that was, fortunately, no dice for him. And a black flag has come in for number 500 from Mark Foster. Not issued by race control, though, so has Foster not cleared a slowdown in time? Because his car is in good shape, so he must have made a mistake when it comes to serving a slowdown there. So that's a driver who's currently running 3rd on track, pardon me, 5th on track, chasing down 3rd and 4th, but his race has just become very much a little bit more difficult there, and will be hit with a hefty penalty hit. You see him shuffle to, well, not quite the back of the field given the other incidents that have taken place, Jay, but that will send him quite a ways back, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, effectively, we'll start him last in the next race instead of a nice mid-top 10 start. Mid-top 10 finish he's on for in this one, but yeah, he'll have to serve that black flag. Or will he have to serve it before the end of the race? He will, won't he? Because if he doesn't, he'll end up with a bigger penalty than actually serving the slowdown. So he will have to come in and serve that. As battles continue, everyone's sort of splintered into 2-car groups, haven't they? There's not many that are in a 3 or 4-car pack other than this one, and also the battle for 7th. This one on screen is the battle for 11th between Greg Holmes, Jesse White-Carrick and Troy Mortensen. Those 3 all going at it in their Porsches. No mix of cars in this group. They're all quite content and happy driving the Cayman. As you said earlier, it does seem to be the choice for drivers that are looking for a little bit of comfort in the way they drive, something a little bit more forgiving. It does seem to be that sort of mid-range car that drivers tend to like in these sort of series.
Very true indeed. Well, white flag has been taken by our race leaders. Matt Andrews has led the Chad Lewis, across the line. Those 2 out in front pretty comfortably. As we look to our other 3-car battle, another trio of Porsche Caymans. This time it's Owen Coleman leading Aaron Maguire and Ben Pollock across the line. 7th, 8th and 9th here as they begin their final lap of the race. For the first 2 races here tonight, we see what can these guys do into the first of the Dunlop chicanes. A little wide from the 421, a lot wide from the 421. That's going to allow the number 19 up ahead of Owen Coleman to break away quite comfortably there. And I think that's just broken that trio into 1 spare and a pair. And yeah, 1 second clear now. Might be able to get that back with a good bit of bump draft and or at least draft exchange and toe, I guess how to put it, toe tagging? That's probably a bit of a weird way to say it, but exchanging the draft here. If Pollock can keep it in control. No, he can't. Oh, the car noses hard into the fence. That's going to be his race done up. As meanwhile, trouble for Greg Holmes, the number 13. He's lost it before Tetra Rouge and gone to the inside of the corner. So, oh, and then he tries to get it going, and the Cayman says, yep, cool, my TC will not stop that from spinning a 180 there on him. So,
oh no.
And then The attempt to get it fully flick spinned has not gone well there.
I was a bit worried that he may have had a meatball flag because it did look like the front right suspension was a little damaged when he went to first flick it. But as you're about to say at the front, change of position. They've changed 3 times on this lap. I think we need to stay with the front here because this is getting very, very interesting.
That's a good point to make. Matt Andrews led at the start of the lap, but had to give it up, I think, to Chad Lewis down the straight, but he's got it back again. Power of the slipstream and the fact that the BMW M4, if to be believed, has a little bit more engine power to compensate for that chonkier body and less aerodynamic shape, plus the extra weight for good measure. So down the Mulsanne straight we go. Chad Lewis already got the nose out to the inside here as he comes down to that Mulsanne corner. Andrews comes across in that to cover that standard braking line though. So no way through there this time. But who's got the better run off the corner? Looks fairly even in the initial phase, but here comes that slipstream, Jake. We should see Chad Lewis having a proper go at it any moment now as we make our way down to Indianapolis for the final time.
Yep, this is going to be on the whole way down for the rest of this lap. We'll see how it unfolds, but a great little fight between Lewis and Andrews, as they have had since qualifying, because remember, there was only 0.02 of a second separating them for the most of the qualifying session until that last absolutely brilliant lap from Andrews. It's Chad Lewis gets it done around the outside into Indianapolis. We'll hold on to the spot for now.
We will indeed, but Andrews is right there on the rear bumper as we head to an Arnage. Has to look to the outside. Looks to the outside and loses the rear end. Grabbing the grass on the curb. Sacrificing a chance at the race win in the first of 2 here tonight. And he's going to get swallowed up by the pair of Caymans running third and fourth. They're now having a good look at position number 2. So here's a 3-way fight once again. This time it's not quite what we expected. Buchanan slots in ahead of Andrews as they run up to the Porsche curves for the final time. It's Chester Lamb on the back of the group here. So who gets the spot by the end of the race? Andrews again tries to open the corner up in the M4. Swing it through. It's actually paid nicely there through that initial phase, but nowhere to go here. It's a single line run for the most part as we jump on board with the 80 of Chester Lamb through the final part of the Porsche curves. Andrews again, you can see him looking to really apex the corner late. Chester, that's not quite the line you want to take if you want to get through the Corvette curves here on the exit cleanly. It's going to allow Andrews the breathing room with the earlier power down now, so his focus can be on the car directly ahead of Brady Buchanan. Meanwhile, up the front, it's Chad Lewis, calm and collected, able to pressure a small mistake out of the 17 of Matt Andrews. He takes the checkered flag for the first race of the night, and that means an excellent win for him.
No.
But back to P10. Another trouble for another car.
Chester Lamb looping it at the final corner. He's held on to the spot though.
Indeed. More battling for position here. Jesse White-Carrick.
White-Carrick's lost the spot.
Looking to pass... no, pardon me, yes. Jesse White-Carrick being passed by GT Williams there. Slow down quite possibly out of the Porsche Corvette curves, I would dare suggest. And
that's cost him the pole.
Indeed, that's promoted GT Williams in that number 2 McLaren up to P10. And race 2 pole is his with that clean finish for him as we now wait on the final drivers to make their way across the line. With only a handful left to go though, so it will be next up Simon Dwyer in that 256. A rough first race for him. He'll be looking for a bit of redemption, I think, in race number 2. And we'll start at a 13th place. Behind him, it's Greg Holmes in number 13. We saw trouble there in that final lap for this car, so a little bit down on finishing position for him as well, but chance to redeem himself coming up. And then Corey Brand in the number 93. One of our Porsche Caymans out on track tonight. A little bit isolated there at the end of the race, but still in has potential to improve from there. And then David Leslie starting 4th, but down in 16th after a couple of dramas there. So not the race he would want either, as our last 2 drivers on track are Anthony Connors and Matt Hardigan. And they've got plenty of time here to get across the line at least. So, won't be seeing them finish. Will be... Pardon me, they're just instructions coming through actually from Greg Holmes. So, Greg helping run the event tonight as Connors brings his car across the line, and he's followed through by Matt Hardigan, which sees us end the session and allow us to quickly run through the results. But it sounds like we might be jumping straight to the feature race in a moment's time here, Jay. So we'll try and run through these real quick. Our top 10, which we will see inverted for the start of race number 2, is Chad Lewis clearing out there at the end after a mistake from Matt Andrews, who have to settle for third, promoting Brody Buchanan up to second place. Chester Lamb, another driver to spin out there, unfortunately, at the end of that one there. Will be able to hang on to fourth, though, ahead of Hilton Booth. Next of our BMWs in fifth, and then the Porsches of Owen Coleman and Aaron Maguire, sixth and seventh. Another BMW with Hendrik Kuzinga in eighth. GT Williams, the first of our McLaren drivers, actually scored there in ninth. So
it's been a post-race penalty come in by the looks of things. Black flag.
Post-race shuffling. So was that possibly Mark Foster staying out and not taking the penalty, perhaps, Jay? Maybe, possibly. But I'm not 100% certain on that one. So it's Jesse White-Carrick who is now 10th place and in that pole position for this second race. Troy Mortensen in 11th, Simon Dwyer in 12th, and then Porsches with Mark Foster 13th, Greg Holmes in 14th, Corey Brand 15th, and then our other McLaren and David Leslie down, unfortunately, in 16th. Anthony Connors 17th, Matt Hartigan in 18th, Ben Pollock, unfortunately, one lap down in 19th, and the last of our finishing drivers there, Jay. They're already on the grid, so we've basically almost run you through the grid. Just remember that top 10 inverted here for race 2, and 20 minutes on the clock for this one here. So we should see 5 laps here, given that we're just over 4 minutes 20 on lap time here, with just 15 seconds left before we get rolling to get this second race underway here.
Just trying to go back through my software notes to see if that is confirmed that the post-race penalty was for Mark Foster. 40-second post-race penalty, or 45-second I should say, which put him back to 13th position. So if he had served that drive-through on lap 2 before the start of the final lap, he would have ended up probably about 10th or 11th. Instead, he's going to start this one in 13th. May prove costly because it could have been reverse grid pole or very, very close too. And Jesse White-Carrick, how lucky is that? He ends up giving up what we thought was pole by what we thought was a slowdown as well, and somehow gets a little bit lucky with Mark Foster's penalty.
Yes, indeed. Or maybe just aware of what was happening there and deciding to
maybe
slip in alongside. But nevertheless, switches his spot from 11th up to first, which in fact that is indeed rather important. So gets the benefit of the spot nevertheless. So once again, the cars make their way down through the Porsche curves, and we get ready to get this second of 2 races here for Pass 2 underway. 20 minutes on the clock, so yeah, 5 laps should be expected, and looks like we're going to get plenty more action. Will we see this pack stick together a little bit more? I'm not so sure about that. I hope for it, because that will make for some fantastic pack racing potential, and it's just a question of whether these guys are comfortable and confident enough to be able to pack race with each other, or if we'll see the field sort of splinter out into those 2s and 3s with a couple of drivers individual here, Jay.
I was about to say I don't think we're going to see any jets for this one, but it looks like the jets have started right on cue. The field comes down towards turn 1. Love how they've added this to this track. It's so iconic and such an important part of a race start at this track.
Indeed, very much a famous component of racing here at Le Mans as we get ready to go green already, and the 777 of Jesse White-Carrick has completely smoked the front row off the line. They're a little bit congested through the final chicane in the back end. Oh no! Spin again at the final chicane before they've taken the green flag. And it's the 256 of Simon Dwyer once again tripped up on that one, and oh no! A meatball, and he hasn't even crossed the start-finish line, Jay.
Corey Brand also with a meatball too, so a couple of drivers involved early on. Not what we want to see. Looks like as well Jesse White-Carrick may have a slowdown. He does. Mark Foster also has one too. So you can see Jesse White-Carrick right on the inside down the hill, and lucky to not have any contact with anyone else as he tries to get out of the way.
Getting that slowdown served as soon as possible, and back out on track. In fact, pardon me, who is that there on track behind him now? It's Hilton Booth in the 488, the other one of the, the black and white BMWs there with the Kraken banner. So I was wondering, hang on a second, I don't remember 2 of those cars on track earlier on, but no, indeed, there were 2. So unfortunately, whilst the 256 of Simon Dwyer is consigned to the pits, he is not. Meanwhile, P2 now, Hendrik Kuzinga has copped a slowdown early on in the lap. Oh no! It's happened again for the number 3 McLaren of GT Williams. Off into the grass. Oh, gravel, sorry. Oh no, and more trouble here on lap number 1. Multiple cars around at the first Mulsanne chicane. The number 2 of GT Williams is followed in there by the number 19, Owen Coleman this time. The cars they're doing the big skid and just going a bit too hot in there. I was just going to get talking about the number 3 part of me, which is that BMW M4 of Hendrik Kruzinga. You can see here for 256 Simon Dwyer. Oh, just not enough space left by the 13, which is Greg Holmes. That's just quite a mistake there, unfortunately. And then again on the replay here, just see the number 2, just the car. A carbon copy of what we saw from that McLaren in race 1. The rear end braking traction in that middle phases of the first chicane. And the number 19 of Owen Coleman just way too quick in there. Definitely keeps it away from everyone else, but then has to do another little flick spin to get that car going in the right direction here, Jay.
That's just a complete lack of seeing a braking marker, and good avoidance there to make sure that there wasn't any contact, because that could have ended in absolute disaster for 4 or 5 cars there. So the positive, I guess, is Williams and Coleman will be able to battle amongst themselves. The downfall is they won't be battling for the win in this one, unfortunately.
No, they are already 20 seconds off the race leader, speaking of which, it's currently number 3 of Hendrik Kruzinga, but get this, slowdown for that car was issued after, I believe, a cut at the turn 1-2 chicane early on, right at the start of the race. They did not serve the slowdown in time, so that race leader in that BMW has an outstanding black flag penalty, so they will have to come down the pit lane, or well, actually they will have to come down the pit lane, because with a longer race here, this second of 2 races the past 2, he will need to serve it or be disqualified by iRacing once 3 passes of the pit entry are completed. So that car is out of contention, but our race winner from the first of our 2 races tonight, Chad Lewis, already up into 6th place and hassling the back of that other BMW M4 with Matt Andrews directly ahead of them. They're looking to get on, stay with the other guys ahead as Brady Buchanan's up the inside of Aaron Maguire there to take P2. So this is an effective race for the lead now. 5 cars in it, and hopefully these guys can stick together here, and this will make things a little bit more exciting if they can hang on together and make this one stick all the way towards the end of this race as we come through the Porsche curves for the first time here at number 17, and Matt Andrews in pretty deep in the mid phase, but Chester Lamb directly ahead compromises the exit of the Porsche curves as we come through the Corvette curves there, and it's allowed Matt Andrews up along the inside, and that looks to be about job done as we head into the 4 chicanes that end the first lap here in this second race. And our top 5 still together here on track. I am now excluding the number 3 as they will be effectively out of this one, but opting not to come and serve their penalty straight away. And in fact, good to see though, we do have a couple more cars in behind there. The 500 of Mark Foster, along with the 777 of Jesse White Carrigan, the 488 of Hilton Booth. Meanwhile, oh no. Whilst I was just trying to get through the results from earlier on, trouble at the back of the field. The 555 of David Leslie clipped and spun in the initial phase of the Porsche curves. Trips up what looked to be, I thought that was the 14 of Anthony Connors as well. So he's been shuffled to the back of the field.
Ran into the back of Troy Mortensen too, so trying to see if there's any damage to the rear of that car.
Meanwhile, small drama for 999 of Matt Hardigan. Slow down at the first chicane. That's dropped him out of the pack for the top 10. So jumping back on board for another replay here. So the car ahead of here of Dwyer just jams on the brakes, I think. Because
Mortensen, who we're on board with there, I think he may have missed the apex a little bit and sort of got on the brakes a little bit more than everyone else was expecting. And Leslie just didn't check up enough, and around he went after making contact.
Yeah, definitely not what you want to see. As meanwhile, that's Mark Foster in number 500. Went full commitment round the outside into the first of the 2 chicanes here on the Mulsanne straight. But he's made it stick there under braking. So good car control there from the 500 Lego machine. As he looks to chase down that leading top 5 pack of Brady Buchanan, Aaron Maguire, Matt Andrews, Chad Lewis has dropped off them slightly here as we look out the back of the number 3 race leader. Although, again, penalty outstanding for this car that will need to be served during the race, or else we will say goodbye to them during the session. As deep into that chicane there, that's not going to do the number 3 any favours. They weren't going to be able to get away due to the drafting effects of the Mulsanne straight here, but forcing number 16, there's a nasty bump there. Be careful, Brady. But looks to have kept that one relatively within track limits and not had that issue. As we go 3 wide on the Mulsanne to a Porsche and a BMW sandwich. Got to be careful not to rock back and forward there too much as he bumps off the outside of Matt Andrews it was. In fact, Matt Andrews gets around the outside to the race lead under brakes. And he's going to be able to get that spot done, which is actually going to then possibly allow him here to break away as number 3 of Krzinga, a little slow off the corner. Meanwhile, in the background there, Chester Lamb has retaken the place off Mark Foster, but a bad run off the Mulsanne corner. Going to allow, well, it's going to send Foster to the back of the train. So we've now got 4 cars looking to get past the BMW for second place. And now a second pack of 4 just sort of separated out and now fighting amongst themselves for 6th place here, Jay. Will be 5th, but still, again, that number 3 yet to serve that penalty from iRacing.
Yeah, it has to come in either this lap or the next. Otherwise, it will be an instant disqualification. And that is issued by iRacing. So not one from Race Control. Race Control have no say in that, and they'll almost always agree with iRacing's decision on those because there's no if, buts, maybes. If iRacing says you've cut the course, then you've definitely cut the track.
The rules are fairly clear-cut and straightforward. But at the time being, that number 3 is not getting out of the, hasn't gotten out of the way. And it's allowed, presumably, what would be a team. Well, teammates here, you would think, given the liveries, unfortunately, not up to speed with all of the driver and team entries as we right on board with that number 16 of Brady Buchanan trying to find a way past that big BMW. Someone get the M8 memes out, perhaps, and as this number 3 is doing an excellent job of just driving the line for the most part, and therefore being an effective roadblock by making sure to hit all the corner marks. But just that one bad corner exit for the number 3 at the end of the Mulsanne straight, and it's just given that 1.3 second breathing gap. So down to the pit lane for the second time. Does number 3 come into the pit lane? No, they do not. So running out of options here is Hendrik Krzinga.
I'm wondering if Krzinga is actually thinking of staying out, playing the team game and helping Matt Andrews. I mean, we're assuming that they're running together. I mean, you wouldn't both run that exact livery unless you're working together, I wouldn't think, but you never know. But amazing, Brady Buchanan, remember we saw before the bumping and the pushing and shoving with Andrews and Krzinga. Did you see how much damage there was to the right-hand side of that car? The left-hand side
indeed.
Even.
Yes, I did indeed. The bump off of the left on the left side to Matt Andrews' car has quite deformed that side there. Well, pardon me, it's not entirely deformed. It's just definitely showing battle scars from that one there. And a little roughed up, looking to try and stay with the 16 of, the number 1 of Chad Lewis. But now at the back of the little group here is Matt Andrews has extended the lead through the final sector and the first sector to 2 seconds. So that was 1.3 coming off of the Porsche curves and Corvette curves at the end of the last lap. It's up to 2.1. Matt Andrews has been given a free pass to walk away here with a chance at an easy race win to redeem what was a mistake in the end of that first race here, Jay. As we look now at the battle for position number 6, Hilton Booth holding on against Chester Lamb. They want to chase down the 421 of Aaron Maguire, but no action, no passes made this time by into the first Mulsanne chicane. And finally, Hendrik Krzinga has actually just pulled over to the side of the track and let the 2 Caymans through. So, interesting decision there. And oh no, the number 19 of Owen Coleman has also been issued a black flag from iRacing, which will have to be for track limits as well, because that car is in good nick. So it's another driver falling afoul of the track limits and the slowdown requirements. And oh dear, that number 19 is actually having a couple more dramas as he's looped the car there through Tetra Rouge. So
that was a good time to give him some TV time, wasn't it? Maybe not so much.
Yeah, unfortunately so. It's the limit of 17 for these races, and given that they are quite short, I would have thought that should be a non-issue for the drivers in this series. But we shall wait and see what happens. For all we know, there might be some drivers here getting a little bit too free and fancy with the 4 extra car contacts, which I only need 4 of those to add up, and then 1 more off track, and you can say hello to a black flag from iRacing for that as well there in the server config. We see now the race leader 2.5 seconds clear of the 2 Caymans in pursuit. What can those 2 cars do? Can they reel him in at all? I'm not quite sure, given the qualifying pace that Matt Andrews was able to whip out, which I'm pretty sure was on a lap with no assists. Meanwhile, here comes the train for what will now be 4th place. 3 Porsches, 1 BMW. And what does Hendrik Krzinga do here? Defends the spot for the time being. So maybe waiting for an opportune moment, because now seeing that car step aside and wait for the other cars to get through. So now also running out of time here to see, will Krzinga bring that car onto the lane? They have to, otherwise we'll see that car disappear from the session. So fingers crossed they're aware of the penalty requirements and will come and serve that this time by here, Joe.
Fingers crossed, because we don't want to see anyone DQ'd, and no matter where he does come back out on track, there will be someone to battle with, because the rest of the field is rather spread, so you'll slot back into a position where there's a battle pack going to pop up straight away. So this group staying very, very tight here. This is now going to be for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th once we see Krzinga either pit or disappear into the stratosphere. We'll find out in just a second, won't we? Is it 3 laps or 5?
It was my impression that it's 3 laps to serve the penalty
so
on
too.
iRacing, which is relatively common. See here, what does Krzinga do?
Yeah, he's coming in.
Middle of the track, and there we go. Angles that car into pit lane. Oh, hello.
I think everyone's gone, what am I doing? Hang on.
No,
everyone's in. Everyone's in.
The entire field is coming into pits. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Fuel tank restrictions are in play tonight. So
There's our curveball.
there we go. We didn't check that one there, unfortunately. So what are the particulars on the cars here tonight? 25% fuel tank restriction. There's your answer. So that will explain why the number 2 was waiting to serve that penalty. We'll jump on in here, get that fuel in the car, and then take the penalty as one of those cars is up on the jacks. Is that? Oh, no, Matt Andrews. Don't tell me you've made a mistake with the pit stop configuration, because I see every other car staying down for fuel only. It means the first car off the lane is Chad Lewis in the number 1, with Brady Buchanan in the number 16 behind him. Although impressively, he's only lost a couple of seconds. Yeah, about 7.5 seconds stationary in the box. It does send him back to 3rd place. But with 2 laps to go here now, folks, even though the pit stop has occurred, you can see that 5 minutes and 45 on the clock means we'll get this one done and 1 more after it. Righto, so now that BMW is in chase mode once again. What has Matt Andrews got for us? Not quite the toe at the moment this time by, so he's going to have to do it all through consistency and raw pace as the 2 Porsches up ahead begin to run away. And indeed, yep, Hendrik Krzinga stopped in the box some more and continuing to serve that penalty. That might be a lengthy one there now, having opted to take pit service with the penalty at the same time here.
Be interesting
Sorry,
to see whether Matt Andrews has got enough time to close up on Lewis and Buchanan. Lewis and Buchanan really have to work together here to make sure that Matt Andrews doesn't close in. But with the pace that Andrews has had, he has every chance to close in. Now, my guess as well, you're saying he done a very good job to not lose as much time. I'm thinking as soon as he realised he was up on the jacks, he's only ended up forcing the car to change 1 tyre. So hopefully for his sake, it's the rear right. So it was the quickest time, which means also that that'll be a tyre that will take a little bit to warm up. You can sort of see the way the car's moving down the straight. I wouldn't be surprised that he doesn't have 1 cold tyre at the moment. But also in saying that too, you can see how much he's closed already.
Yes, indeed. Well, the gap is currently just under 5 seconds to the race lead in the hands of Chad Lewis at the moment from Matt Andrews. So it will be important to see, can this car get back up to pace pretty quickly? I wonder if at the moment it looks like he's just sort of tracking whatever little bit of draft he can snatch for himself, but he did make a good point there. Probably aborted the tyre change, given that in most GT racing, it's about 27 seconds for a 4 tyre change. Mind you, also with that though, Jay, I'm pretty sure I saw that car basically go up on the jacks the moment it hit the box. So I think he got quite lucky there in terms of maybe the GT4 class allowing tyres and refueling at the same time. We'll worry about that another time though, because we've got 2 wide, almost 3 into the Mulsanne corner here. 421 of Aaron Maguire trying to defend position number 4 from the number 80 of Chester Lamb and the 488 of Hilton Booth. A bit interesting now, I guess, to say the 488, but looking here at a big BMW instead of a Ferrari. But well, no Ferraris here in the GT4 class to slap that number on, so never mind that. Hilton Booth actually gets up the inside of Chester Lamb and gets his pass done, so able to slot into the middle of the Porsche sandwich and now try and hook back onto the bumper of Aaron Maguire here and pressure 4th place as we come down to Indianapolis for the penultimate time for these guys. And clock ticking down, but we will have one more lap to go after this one here, Jay.
And we were curious about Hendrick earlier with his penalty where would rejoin. 40-second stop and hold meant a 1-minute pit stop. Rejoins in 13th position, so a little bit further down than where we'd like to be. But as I said, always find someone to race in this sort of field. Come out right behind David Leslie, who's been in the wars as well. So 2 drivers in the wars that come out together. They'll battle all the way to the checkered flag.
It's good to see as we head back up to the battle for 4th place. And Andrews not actually making the inroads we thought he might be able to make, to be honest, Jay, meanwhile, who's just ahead of these 3 by about almost 10 seconds, pardon me, as we flick forward to him now. See, pardon me, the gap is improved slightly there through the Porsche curves. Gained about 2/10 in particular, but those kind of gains aren't going to be enough unless you can make up 2/10 in every single corner complex from here to the end of this race. As we come through the 4 chicanes for the penultimate time, white flag is taken by the race leaders as they come across the line. In fact, oh my, Matt Andrews has made up 0.6 of a second in the 4 chicanes complex alone. So, okay, I was just starting to doubt whether he could do it. I think my doubts have just been partially erased, because if he can take 0.6 out of the cars ahead through a 3-corner or 3 chicane complex, consider me a believer perhaps. He's just going to make sure he hits all of these corners right and doesn't get too greedy to cop a slowdown. That will be the critical thing here. As cars serving a slowdown.
Oh, he's going to slow down.
Include Matt Andrews in the number 17. Well,
there goes that.
I was just saying how important it was going to be to not get greedy with the curbs, and greedy with the curbs he has got. So that'll have to be 4th place, barring any drama for the 2 guys ahead. So here is our battle pack. It's the 3 cars fighting over 4th. What has Hilton Booth got for Aaron Maguire as they come through Tetra Rouge onto the Mulsanne straight for the final time? Both drivers opting to be rather conservative, I would have said. But no, the 480 Hilton Booth ate too much of the inside curve. That is a slowdown penalty. Slam dunk, says iRacing. Chester Lamb says, well, thank you very much. I'll take a bit of free draft. And now it's up to him to go try and chase down the car ahead in the form of Aaron Maguire, who's, I thought, looked a little bit slow. Chester Lamb, nearly 10 kilometres an hour faster with the double draft down the Mulsanne there, Joe.
One thing that Matt Andrews has got to be careful of is to not keep pushing too hard and get himself another slowdown, because instantly he'll be brought back into this group and be fighting to hold on for that 3rd spot. So Matt Andrews now has to be very, very careful of what's going on and not find himself getting a penalty and drawing himself back into this group, because Lamb and Maguire, they're working together to gain, or to pull away from Hilton Booth, but also fighting for position at the same time. Something that Lewis and Buchanan weren't doing very, very well to break away, but these 2 are doing quite well, is to work together, control the pace of the group, and not cost each other any time.
Yes, it is good to see here these 2 guys working together fairly smartly, and down the final section of the Mulsanne straight they come. Chester Lamb still riding in behind. Meanwhile, Chester Lamb just picked up a slowdown penalty through the second of the Mulsanne chicanes. He's on the rear bumper, but he's got to get that served. And the problem is, if you come into the corner pretty much at race pace here, that won't serve. In fact, actually, yes, it has, sorry.
Oh, wow.
He's been able to make it bleed on the way down the Mulsanne, the final part of the Mulsanne straight there, sorry. So I was a little concerned there, but never mind. Good racecraft there from number 80, using the toe to full effect, apparently, whilst not not hurting his chances of clearing that penalty. So he's now right all over the rear of Aaron Maguire. What have we got? Side by side on the way to Indianapolis. Here we go. Who is the last of the late breakers? Well, to be honest, it looks like it won't be a problem because here comes Tristan Lamb. In front, switch around we go. But Maguire not able to get the car up far enough alongside. Never mind that. Has a look at it for the inside of the left-hander at Indianapolis. Not able to make anything stick though, so he'll have to jump on the brakes and try and hope there's a chance here out of Arnage. I don't quite think so, as both cars exit Arnage fairly evenly. So unless there's a mistake, it's looking like those two guys are going to be fairly settled for now. Back up to the race lead. It's just inside 1 second, but Chad Lewis looks to have just enough of a gap here to bring it home to the end. But still, a couple of corners to go, a couple of slowdown opportunities to go, a couple of mistakes could be made. So definitely not out of it yet. And Buchanan's just made up a ton of time to the end of the Porsche curves. Look at that. Gap closes from 7/10 to half a second. It's a little wide on the exit of the Porsche curves, and through these Corvette curves opens the gap up a fraction again. That's just how important it is to make sure you get those lines so critically right. Into the forward chicanes we come for the final time here in Pass 2 for the season opener here in the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. It's going to be Chad Lewis redeeming himself after that mistake in race number 1 to claim the race win here in the second of the 2 races. Pardon me, it's 2 race wins for Chad Lewis. I'm getting myself all crossed up. Meanwhile, Chester Lamb indeed is going to hang on to position number 4 ahead of Aaron Maguire for P5. Our next battle pack here is these 2 cars for P12. David Leslie still hanging on ahead of Hendrik Krzinga. What does Krzinga have here in the final part of the lap? This is all about getting the line right, and Leslie a little too deep into the Porsche curves. Is that going to hurt him? Grass. But Krzinga almost gives him a mouthful of trouble as they make their run down through the Corvette curves here. It's close, but I'm not quite sure it's close enough. It depends here on what the braking is like into the 4 chicanes.
What a good battle these two have had. And I mean, they've both made huge mistakes. Good job from David Leslie to hold on to the spot. Krzinga, good recovery from what could have been. Oh, don't tell me you got to slow down right at the end there as well. No, he was able to clear it. It's a great fight and some great battles the whole way through the field, which is what we want to see.
And the last couple of drivers make their way to the checkered flag. Unfortunately for Greg Holmes, not quite the race he would have wanted, but he's looks to have got himself in a position here to bring that car home in 14th place, as we will run through the race results here for you all. Now, as most of the field has finished this first race to round out their first round of the season here, Jay, Chad Lewis holds on for the race win ahead of Brady Buchanan, just 6/10 separating them at the line. That's 2 race wins for Chad Lewis tonight to open off his Pass 2 campaign. Matt Andrews unable to close the gap after what must have been that pit stop error there, and then a slowdown, the nail in the coffin there at the start of the final lap. Chester Lamb settles for 4th place, but able to fend off Aaron Maguire. That's a good result there for him. Hilton Booth comes home in 6th place ahead of Ben Pollock in 7th. Jesse White-Carrick in 8th. Anthony Connors in 9th, and GT Williams starting from the pole with that reverse grid, but unable to convert with the mistake there. But P10 will have to do for him there at the end of that second race there, Jay.
Then the rest of the field, we've got Mortensen and Leslie with Krzinga just behind, and Greg Holmes, as we said, as my timing is reset because we're getting ready for the next race, which is literally starting right now. So we're rushing to get you coverage of that right now. So we'll bring that to you in just a second, because it is getting ready to go right now. They're already on the pace lap.
Goodness me.
The long laps at Le Mans have caught everyone out, including the race admins.
Righto. Well, that's going to make things a little bit interesting, but I guess there you go. Reference for future times. So thankfully, having 2 PCs here makes life a lot easier. As you can see here, a field of Aston Martins to take the grid. We do see a couple of the GT4 cars have been chosen by the Pro-Am class drivers here that are on the field tonight. Free choice in these wildcard rounds means it's a bit of mix and a bit of match, as we see here slightly different conditions await us at Le Mans for the Pro-Am field. But you should see here, it for the GT1 class, very much dominated by the Aston Martin. There are a couple of Corvettes in the field, but not all that many. You can see at the top of the field, basically all Aston Martins, I believe, through to about 20th place or thereabouts. Unfortunately, without timing just yet, I can't tell you for certain here, folks. We'll have to have a look through. In fact, there you go. Actually, quite a healthy complement of GT4s and GT1s, and I spy with my little eye 2 Aston Martins amongst the GT4 field here on the pace lap, Jay.
Yeah, I see that as well. So a few guys in the Aston Martin class that didn't quite get a lap in qualifying that are starting way down the back of the field. We've got 36 cars, and we're about ready to get them underway. And that's a horrible launch from second position. I believe that's Lachlan Capel in the yellow car. So we get through, and it looks like we're getting through a little bit cleaner than we saw in our race earlier.
Well, here are the big boys. Oz Pro-Am is underway for season number 6. And I believe actually that was the pole sitter of Jack Widders getting right, but that's a 784. That's going to be Ross Rizzo for Trans-Tasman Racing. The car goes around at the Dunlop chicanes and looks to rejoin as here comes the GT4 class. Oh, that Aston is cooked. I think that needs a tow there, Ross, unfortunately. He's still got it parked, though, waiting. In fact, that Aston is
he's got
completely
huge damage.
toast. That is not steering right whatsoever. So it was the 898. I believe that's Jack Widders' car number.
Yes. Yep.
If I'm not mistaken. So there was our pole sitter, unfortunately, not getting the jump off of the, pardon me, that was off the final part of the 4 chicanes when the green flag flew. So race order immediately shuffled, and one of the front runners already knocked out in this first of 2 races here for the Pro-Am division tonight, Jay.
Once we get our timing up and running, we will get the replay of that start as well to see exactly what happened to Rizzo. What an incredible start to the race, though. And have a look at that group behind. You've got Aston Martins in amongst the leaders of the GT4 class as well. You've got Pro and Am all in amongst each other as well. You've got drivers that are all shuffled out of position as well. It's been a crazy start to this race.
Yeah, just seeing now those Aston Martins that need to come through. One of them is the number 99 of Brandon Levin. And he's looking to fly through here and get on his way. Looks like he's more or less cleared the GT4 field. Couple more GT1s coming through, though. You see that? Look at them swarming past the speed differential. Almost 300 Ks for these guys. It's Aaron Oliver in the number 70. One of our amateur class drivers. And up over the curbs. 64 is John Merritt. He gets the job done only just, though. But they've now cleared the GT4 field. And goodness me, it's been chaos aplenty here as we... slow down for Merritt. And he serves that rapidly by slamming on the anchors.
Gotta be careful doing that.
Done.
Slamming on the brakes like that. It can cost you quite a lot. Because if you do it too much and too aggressive, you can find yourself with a car running straight into your rear. So he's done a good job to avoid that. And trying to get back past as quick as he can. Our timing isn't quite working yet, but the positive is we've got the timer up on screen now, so we can actually see what's going on, and we'll try and get some replays in just a minute.
Indeed, a 15-minute first race for the Pro-Am division here tonight, so a little bit longer than past 2 that we saw earlier on, as the leading Aston Martins make their way up to the front of the field. Is goodness me, GT4, we've got a diamond formation heading through Indianapolis to Arnage. That got a little bit crazy. The mixed the Pro and Am class drivers there. Here it is indeed. The number 36 of Daniel Fleming in the Porsche came in there. One of the bigger losers of the pack, I think. But he's going to just sneak out ahead of Richard Brookfield, another one of his Am class competitors. And one of the drivers reporting, oh dear, yes, Lachlan Capel will stop and hold in pit lane. That has got to be for track limits. So number 18, Aston Martin GT1 pulls down to the lane. The 048 of Michael Healy in one of the BMW M4 GT4s. He's also come down, got a black flag there. So drivers continuing to fall afoul of the off tracks and the slowdown regulations here. As we're now able to show you another race restart here. You can see here that pole sitting car unable to get away there. Indeed, it was the 898 of Jack Widders. But just, was it Ross Rizzo getting a little bit too hot there on the brakes? I'm going to presume so. As we watch here down into the Dunlop chicane.
Oh, he's done it all by himself.
The car lets go. And then absolutely slammed by 2 other of the GT1 cars. And then looked to rejoin it.
Look at that front tyre.
He tried to drive it out and get going, but that left front was having absolutely none of it. So thankfully Ross there able to park it up and wait. There's 2 cars with a meatball currently waiting to finish their tow. It's number 49 of Jordan Peter in the GT4 class, along with Ross Rizzo as well. More slowdowns issued. Nathan Moore in the Aston Martin, the GT1 class. He was one of the cars to have to be served with slowdown. So it's all going on here is more GT4 cars getting slowdowns at the starting chicane lap. These guys still struggling here with the track limits, it would seem, as we have a look at what's happening. Meanwhile, trouble for Sam Lehman. He's gone around at the first Mulsanne chicane. He's got that Corvette of his refired and heading in the right track, but I do believe I see a dangly left side wing mirror as evidence of his drama there. So,
is there even a wing mirror? Oh yeah, there is a dangly wing mirror. I was going to say, is there still a wing mirror on it? But
that is the side of the car that I believe Lehman, unfortunately, was one of the drivers to clip the stricken Ross Rizzo early on. As you can see there, that Corvette looking like it's got a bit of a demented smile going on there from a particular angle. But yes, flappy wing mirror there on the left side.
The flappy wing mirror, as you said, was from earlier on, but that was just purely a self-spin for Lehman.
Oh, the unfortunate. So that, yep.
That looks all familiar, doesn't it?
Yes, unfortunately, we've seen GT Williams do that twice tonight already. So make that 2 spins for a McLaren and add 1 spin for a Corvette there at the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. Track record not looking all that hot flash there, unfortunately, as we look to the lead now of the GT4 class. It's Christopher Henn in the number 60, another Cayman GT4 that is certainly popular here tonight. Sebastian Vandel is leading our AM class drivers amongst this GT4 pack, though. So it's quite a fascinating thing. So we've basically got 4 classes racing here tonight, just split amongst the different car classes for good measure. So we've got GT1 drivers split into Pro and AM, and amongst the GT4 drivers, we've also got them all split into Pro and AM. So it does make for a very busy field and understanding where everyone's at. There's Lachlan Capel there in the background in his number 18 Aston Martin GT1, looking to recover after his penalty. But here's a side-by-side. Oh, don't make this a track blocker, boys. Capel says, all right, around the grass on the left side I'll go on the run up to Indianapolis. Not quite something you see. Oh no, trouble at the Porsche curves. 2 Aston Martins involved. Matthew Johnson and Blake Urquhart have gotten together. And as the field comes by, they're looking to try and make their way through. And they've all had to compromise their run. So drama continues here. 7 minutes on the clock. We should get 2 more races, 2 more laps in here, I believe, to see 4 laps for this GT1 field, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll wait and see what happens. As oh dear, have we got some synchronized spinning there on the virtual racing school replay, Jay, or did I just miss a tap from Urquhart to the rear of Johnson?
I'm going to have another look, but that 3rd car in line, the blue car there, they were very, very lucky to get away with that, because that could have ended in absolute disaster. We'll get another look and see if we can pick up exactly what happened.
Oh, meanwhile, we want to stay live, because look at that, Andrew Johnson. Matthew Johnson, sorry. All kinds of unstable on the brakes through the Dunlop curve up to the Dunlop chicanes. And so the rear end says, fair enough. Time to spit you around and pick up the slow down for good measures. We take another look at the replay here. Oh no, that's a pretty hefty punt from Blake Urquhart to the rear of Matthew Johnson. And both cars there opting to go for the big skid. The 747 was Damien Seeger, one of our AM class drivers, opting to drive the GT1 here tonight. Yes, indeed, Jay. Just able to escape drama. Although, actually, pardon me in saying that, he's opted to come down the pit lane on that last lap and try and fix that car up. Another driver in the lane is Aaron Oliver. A lengthy pit stop for him at the moment, so Some dramas there, I would dare say, as we have a look here at the battle for 7th in GT1. It's Brandon Levin in the Pro class, defending from Wayne Losh in the AM class. So it is quite impressive to see here that the AM class driver's not afraid to duke it out with the Pro class boys. And if I'm not mistaken, that will mean the AM class drivers will be able to contest for the overall points relative to the Pro class guys. But very much still fighting in separate championships all season long here.
Yeah, of course, that was decided over 3 nights of pre-qualifying at Imola a couple of weeks ago, or last week, I should say, and we do go to Imola later in the season, which will be very, very interesting to see with the drivers already doing a fair bit of practice there. Always cool to see when you go to a track a second time after you've already done a heap of practice and pre-season testing. So I'm looking forward to Imola in a few weeks' time when we get there in the GT3. But for now, this race is really heating up at the front. Referee Jeff Connell and Jack Wittes going at it. Daniel Webster just sitting back, watching, waiting, and hoping there's a minor mistake, because he's at that right level where you want to be at a track like this. You don't want to be tucked up right underneath their rear wing in a 3-car group, at least for personal preference from me. I was always more content to be around about that 0.6 to 2 second bracket, watch the guys ahead, and know that when the big one happens with those two, because it usually does it at Le Mans, just the nature of the circuit, you're there to pounce and not get yourself compromised by that.
Yeah, the gap from Webster to Jeff Connell, who leads the race here, and the number 1 denoting what would surely be the defending series champion for the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series here. As we have a look back at the GT4 field, a couple of drivers here racing down the Mulsanne Straight into the corner here. So this is our lead battle pack for GT4 indeed. It's now led up by Christopher Henn. Sebastian Vandel had the lead at the line going off of the number panels there on his car. But once again, the drafting back and forth, meaning that Henn able to take that spot back. 3 minutes 30 on the clock. The leaders have just crossed the start-finish line, so they will have received the white flag from iRacing as more of these GT1 cars are down onto the lane. Nathan Moore from position number 4 and Mos Moroz from P5. Now, this is interesting something, because I don't think I saw anything flag up for them, so I wonder what's bringing those guys down onto the lane here right at the end of the race, Joe.
Well, we did see the fuel restriction on the GT4s. Is there fuel restriction on the GT1s? And have some guys not noticed it and then realised that, hey, we're going to be short on fuel if we go this extra lap?
Well, the answer is yes, indeed. A 34% fuel tank limit is in place of both
They
of
do
the
chew the
GT1
fuel,
cars
but
here
laps,
tonight.
Only 4 laps still seems a little short. Probably would get 5 to about that 30% fuel tank. So confused, but maybe that's what it is.
What's happened up here? Oh dear. The number 11 of Matthew Johnson has come around even once again, as we continue to try and keep our eyes on the GT4 class lead, because we've got this nice and healthy 5-car group that's looking to fight over it. And just 1.8 seconds covering this pack of 5 cars. And then for good measure, we've got Aaron Oliver trying to make his way through again after his own pit stop on the last lap. And not able to slot through. Here we go, hello.
Now, when the leaders crossed the line, was it definitely 1 to go, or was it around about that borderline where we may see 2 to go?
Well, it was around 3.5 minutes to go on the clock. The qualifying times for GT1 here tonight are in the 3-minute 45 range. I would have thought by that metric, surely we would see 1 lap to go here. Unfortunately, as a spectator in the session, I can't seem to verify if we are on our last lap or not, unfortunately. So I am left a little confused, perhaps. Maybe there is something here that we're not paying attention to, but
Very short stops for these guys.
indeed, these guys, 5 seconds. It's a splash of fuel for all of the GT4 cars. Drivers uncertain that they can make it the extra lap here. So this is important to see here. We've got a 25-minute feature race coming up after this, which means that, well, at 3 minutes 40 thereabouts for the drivers. Now, actually, pardon me, I'm going to have a look here. 11 minutes 24. Oh, that's 3 minutes So, pardon me, the race leader crossed the line at 11 minutes 24 seconds into the race.
It's 3 minutes and 35.5 seconds left, so it should be last lap.
It should be last lap. So I am very, very confused as to what has seen some of the GT1 drivers peel down the lane, but I could have sworn the Caymans had a little bit more fuel than that, but nevertheless they did not. The entire GT4 field has basically come down for a splash and dash. So meanwhile, we'll got plenty of time to worry about them in a bit, because here's our race lead. It's now Jack Whittis back in front, having retaken the lead earlier on in the lap from Jeff Connell. Through the Corvette curves they come for the final time. The top 10 is not inverted here in Pro-Am from what I can see, so this is a small benefit to come out in the race lead. Nothing of it as they come through the 4 chicanes for the final time. Both drivers unaffected, and indeed the floodlights flash from Jack Whittis as he takes the checkered flag and the first race win for Season 6 of Oz Pro-Am Sim Series in the Pro-Am division. And the rest of the GT1 field is fairly spaced out, so looks like our attention needs to stay here with our GT4 field, as it's now only down to 3 of the Caymans that are effectively within earshot of a fight over the class win here in this first race, Jay. And it's approaching ever more likely that we're only going to have 2 drivers fighting out for that that position here. As a bit of chatter in the race commentary from the eventual race winner there, Jack Whittis, talking about his dislike for fuel savings. So I think that that really sums it up. Never mind that though, because here's the lead for GT4. Calix Poon up the inside at the Mulsanne corner, but Sebastian Vandel gets the crisscross on corner exit. This is bringing Christopher Henn back into it, so it is now very much a 3-way fight here, Jay. Down to Indianapolis and Arnage for the final time. Which of these guys comes out ahead? Does Christopher Henn have anything left in it to challenge for the class win with half a lap to go, if not that?
You'd have to think that Henn is in a really good spot here to potentially take advantage as the lights come on, as the sun's starting to set. Henn's in the perfect spot to take advantage and at least steal one spot. Can throw it up the inside of someone that, you know, makes a really good aggressive move, or can sit behind and pay attention to who's got a weakness. In saying that, these 3 have been in the lead group the whole way through this race, as that's a little mistake there from Calix Poon. And right as I said, Christopher Henn takes advantage and gains a spot.
Cars now back in the order they started the final lap on, so Calix Poon unfortunately not able to convert, it seems, from that run down the Mulsanne straight there. So all to do here into the Porsche curves. Does he have anything for Christopher Henn? The answer is not at the initial phase. Henn able to break in nice and deep as well, but equally important, making sure to really hit the apex curve there in the second phase. So not leaving anything to chance, I would dare say, is the number 60. So now just one final part of the Porsche curves to negotiate for these guys. All looks fairly neat and tidy there. Nothing too dramatic, but Christopher Henn not quite on the bumper of Sebastian Vandel. So good chance here for the 411 to take a fairly comfortable win here, as Christopher Henn ducking and weaving into the 4 chicanes. It's going to be enough to hold off Calix Poon, but it's not going to be enough to close down. So not only is it a class win, but it's also an AM of the drivers amongst the field here, taking the GT4 win. So the Oz Pro-Am format very much delivering here in round number 1, race number 1. Still one to come here in just a moment's time as we see more of our GT4 field make its way across the line. As Richard Brookfield holds off Liam Caplice. Matthew Cardelloni holding off Daniel Cheney. And then Dennis Gaderick just ahead of Daniel Fleming there. Gaderick in that number 190 BMW M4 with the Mobil 1 Brock and the HRT era Brock paint there on the car. So definitely a mishmash of brand designs. As trouble for Timothy Audi out on track. Audi did pit with everyone else. 4.2 seconds stationary, but his car is crawling towards the start finish line. Did he not put enough fuel in that car? Oh dear, he did not.
Yep, he ran out of fuel right at the end. That's unfortunate for him, but this is the results. We'll go through the GT1 field first. Jack Whittis picks up the win, half a second ahead of Jeff Connell and Daniel Webster picks up 3rd position. Fairly big gap back to Wayne Losh, who wins the AM class in the first race with Brandon Levin, Sam Lehman. We've got Blake Urquhart, and then Nathan Moore, Moz Moroz, Matthew Johnson. Good mix of pro and AM in that group there. Damien Seeger, as I just see Nathan Moore's been given a post-race penalty and dropped back to 13th. So in 10th position, we'll go back a little bit because we've got Damien Seeger in there now. Then Capel, Raccondello, and then we've got Nathan Moore, as we said, Aaron Oliver and John Merritt. And then we've got Ross Rizzo a bit further down the field with an early meatball flag from the start of the race. He does get himself back up into 19th outright.
Yes, indeed. A few more drivers back there. Pardon me, I'm going to just quickly flick over the page. In fact, no, pardon me. Ross Rizzo was the final of our GT1 class drivers too. Unfortunately, fall well down the order. Still on the lead lap though, so that tow able to get him out in time. So Sebastian Vandel wins the GT4 class here in race number 1 and also wins the AM class. So very much an impressive result there, ahead of Christopher Henn, who will have to settle for second place outright second place in class. First. Oh, goodness, that's going to be a real tongue twister to say. Second in car class, first in Oz Pro-Am class. How about that there, Jay, for you?
I know what you're trying to say, but I'm still confused.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, but because I went to say second in class, but first in class, and my brain immediately realized that's not going to do anyone any favors while you're watching along with us here. Calix Poon, one of our drivers here, in fact, the one driver yet to be assigned the class denominator, so not quite sure where Calix fits into the equation, but third place in GT4 will do for him. I think that might do us better. If I actually mention it's GT4, how about that? Let's head over the page. Adam Funslow there, 20th outright, and 4th in GT4 will do nicely for him. It's Richard Brookfield, 5th in GT4 ahead of Liam Caplice, Matthew Cardellone, Daniel Cheney, Sean Lacey, and then I believe that'll mean Dennis Gaderick is the 10th driver in a GT4, to come across the line. Ahead of Daniel Fleming, Derek Audie, Phil Audie, Richard Mayer, and a few more drivers down the table. Chu Kang, Luke Fitt, Matthew Scarr, and Jordan Peter, the last of our cars to finish on the lead lap. Mind you, that's in relation to the GT1 class and the outright timing. Timothy Audie, unfortunately, 1 lap down on those outright cars, and Michael Healy 3 laps down after getting tangled in his own incident as well on there. So not quite the outing that Trans-Tasman Racing would be wanting with their 2 drivers getting caught up in a couple of incidents early on. So about halfway through the warm-up session now here, Jay. So we get a chance to take a momentary breath perhaps with our voices and maybe allow a couple of the drivers out and track to do the talking. Although unfortunately we've got not a huge number of drivers opting to take advantage of the warm-up. So everyone opting to make it more of a 5-minute break instead here, Jay.
Well, I think considering the length of the lap, there's not really much point in getting back out there. The cool thing I do love about this track is you don't need an overlay to tell you how much time's left in the session with minute 50 on the clock. And the other thing you can see there is the track is 23 degrees. The wind notice the wind is really, really circulating and swirling around, changing direction, but it's gusting as well. So it's hovering between 4 or 5 kilometers an hour, and then it gusts up to 20 odd kilometers an hour. So that can really affect drivers into braking zones when they're not expecting it. If they're getting a tailwind into a braking zone and may not realize that the wind has gusted like that, can really throw you momentum. At a track that is so fast like this, it can amplify that as well.
That's a very good point indeed. It's something I guess I haven't really ever as a driver taken all that much consideration into, but it is something that is a important part of the things you have to account for, especially at a track like this as well, given how important the braking zones are, given that we're talking about, at least now here in the GT1 class of cars that we're seeing on track, about 300 kilometers an hour down the end of the Mulsanne Straight with no tow. If you add in a draft as well for good measure, you're talking over 300 kilometers an hour, and if you suddenly have a gust of a tailwind spike up, that's going to try and push you along even a little bit faster there. So that is something to take into account for sure. Well, approaching 30 seconds to go here in the warm-up phase. Wind seeming to have calmed down into the low teen kilometers per hour. Unfortunately, unable to tell you Actually, I think I can tell you here. Northwesterly direction on those wind gusts here, Jay. So,
Don't ask me what direction that is, though.
yeah, unfortunately, my sense of direction.
That's
Here
north
at
is
Le Mans
that
is a-
way. North. So it's blowing. It's almost a tailwind down the Mulsanne Strait.
Well, that's good to know indeed. Well, how about that? So, that's very important, actually. And I wonder here, do I even have a north's, like a compass thing I can add to
You're using JRT on your track map. It will have a north.
Indeed, I can.
North arrow. So, of course, the northwesterly means it's coming from the northwest. So it's sort of blowing almost down the Mulsanne down towards. You can see if you look on your track map, the little bottom corner, it's headwind going down the run into Indianapolis.
Indeed, I do now see that. Currently, actually, the wind is a bit of a crosswind, but that's the joys of variable weather here in iRacing. And
when it swings
see
back
if
to that
makes
northwest,
much-
it will swirl back to that direction again. So
we will see if that makes a difference. Well, the field is gridding up here for the second of two races in Oz Pro-Am. Field is unchanged since the race results here. So Jack Whittis to take the pole position alongside Jeff Connell. Daniel Webster in third place with Wayne Losh alongside him in fourth. Brandon Levin in fifth with Sam Lehman in sixth here. And then we're going to have Blake Urquhart seventh, Mosman Ross eighth, Matthew Johnson ninth, Damien Seeger in 10th, Lachlan Capel in 11th, Aaron Raccanello in 12th, Nathan Moore 13th, Aaron Oliver 14th, John Merritt in 15th, and then, once again, the field is not separated by class, so we then have the first of the GT4 cars in Sebastian Varndell, Christopher Henn, and Calix Poon, rounding out our top 18 before we get back to the final of our GT1 cars in Ross Rizzo. So, going to have the task of making sure to not stumble across those cars directly ahead of him here, Jay, as we see the cars begin their formation run. And look here at the rest of the grid real quick. All unchanged. Sean Lacey there will be out of 25th position. Dennis Gaderick, 26th. Daniel Fleming, 27th, alongside Derek Audie for 28th. Phil Audie and Richard Muir on row number 15, 28, 29, 30, sorry. Chu Kang, Luke Fitt on 31st, 32nd, row 16. Row 17 in Matthew Scar and Jordan Peter, and Timothy Audie and Michael Healy, the 18th and final row here tonight. So that full field of 36 cars, 16 in GT1. That's going to leave us with 20 in GT4 here as they come through the Porsche curves under safety car for the second time tonight. 25-minute race. We now know that GT1 cars can do 3 laps at full burn, 4 if you do a bit of fuel saving. Same thing with the GT4s. They're looking at about 4 laps to a tank as well. So,
interesting part to that, sorry to cut you off there, Dan, is that we're looking at about a 7-lap race. So GT1, will they have to pit twice?
well, we've seen it's possible to make the tank last 4 laps. The race leaders were able to do it, but they had to do a bit of fuel saving to achieve it. So we await to see who plays the strategy game versus the pace game as the Air Force flies overhead. The French flag awaits us in the sky as the field comes through the final chicane here. The race is now almost in the hands of the 898 of Jack Whittis. And immediately he's through, and the green flag flies for race number 2 of the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. But it's side by side more or less. Well, actually, no, it's not. Jeff Connell slots in behind, and the most of the field, in fact, already going single file. As looks like now the GT1s are clear of the GT4s. Yes, they are. And in fact, what has happened to Ross Rizzo? I'm not seeing. Oh, no, he's jumped up. Sorry, a couple of spots up. Oh, no. Trouble, though, at the back of the GT4 field. Matthew Cardellone is already crabbing his car into pit lane. He is not going to be taking the race start. And Ross Rizzo has a black flag. How has he picked up a black flag this quickly into the race?
I'm going to guess that he's jumped the start and passed too many cars before the start line.
Oh, Ross. That's not what you want to see for an experienced pair of hands.
He's had his black flag cleared, though, by racing across. I'm guessing that's what's happened.
They're given permission to go past.
Yep, that's what's
On
happened.
the start-finish straight before the start-finish line. And
was given permission to clear himself ahead of the GT4s before the start of the race, so that's why he's been given a bit of a free rein to continue on. Go to the front. Let's look at the front of the field. It's starting to get quite interesting and quite intense.
Yes, it is. 3 cars roughly in line here for the race lead. You see that Daniel Webster in at number 35. Aston Martin is starting to look all over the back end of Jeff Connell, that number 1 machine, as they're both trying to hunt down. And that's a big lift and coast from those guys. So very much they'll be playing the one-stop game here, it would seem. So how much fuel saving can you do? Because you can top that tank back up at the end of lap 4 and go flat out to the end of this one here once you've done that. But there we go. Fuel saving is the name of the game. And it's currently the top 3 breakaway. And the rest of the GT1 field is clear. But yes, you can see there on the replay here. Ross Rizzo.
Wheel heavily damaged. That's why he is now out of the race.
He's back out on track, but
effectively out of the race.
Effectively out of the race indeed. As we have a look here at 3 wide on their way down to Indianapolis, and Sam Lehman, Blake Urquhart, and Wayne Losh, 3 of our drivers contending for the an AM class win here in Oz Pro Am as part of the GT1 field. It's Sam Lehman who's going to go to the head of the group for the time being, but with Blake Urquhart and Wayne Losh both behind him here, I'm sure they'll be busy here. Top 3 unaffected. It's now Sam Lehman who's up 2 spots. Meanwhile, our biggest mover, one that might not surprise you there, Ross Rizzo at the back of the train here in that 784 Aston, is now up 9 spots since the start of the race. Another look at the race start here. Oh dear, that's quite the
police that's made that contact there, and yeah, that's a little bit too aggressive.
Yes, and then as a result, rubbing and rejoining there as we get going. Look here at the back of this top 10 battle now. The GT1 field starting to splinter a little bit. As
really broken into 2 groups, hasn't it? You've got the top 3 that are broken away, then Sam Lehman, Blake Urquhart 4th and 5th leading the rest of the group. You can see that Wayne Losh has got to slow down. He's checking up, trying to clear that as quick as he can.
Same for John Merritt as well, just behind in the number 64. So Merritt falls off the back of the GT1 train here. He's going to want to make sure he gets this absolutely right. No, he's still having to slow down and clear it. So John Merritt has been hung out to dry. Oh my goodness, it's taken forever to clear. Wayne Losh still wasn't trying to clear. Here's, there we go. So that is going to tell a tale over the course of this race here, I think. As the rest of the field is still very much one giant snake, although my timing insists it's 3 cars for 4th, 3 cars for 7th, and then the rest comes afterwards. But it's close enough here to call it one giant train, especially with the draft that this car should get down the Mulsanne straight. But never mind that for a second, because here's our GT4 field making their way across the line, and we've got ourselves a healthy 7-car lead pack. Mostly Caymans, with 2 BMWs in the hands of Richard Brookfield and Dennis Gadderick to break up the monotony there. As these guys come through the Dunlop chicane, led by Christopher Henn. Top 2 positions unchanged. Well, pardon me, sorry. Top 2 are unchanged because of Ross Rizzo coming through. Sebastian Vandel has been knocked off the class lead here for the time being, but sits in a good spot to save a bit of fuel and coast in behind here. As this car, as we know, can do 4 laps to a tank pretty comfortably. But if you can save just that little bit more and shorten the stop by a couple of seconds, that could make a difference here. At least getting yourself in a favourable position once the cycle completes. As they come onto the Mulsanne straight, and it's actually broken a bit up here now. 5 cars really fighting over the class lead, with the next 3 behind. We're breaking up a little bit here. And thanks to the wonders of multi-PC broadcasting, here we are, side by side. GT4 leaders on the left, GT1 leaders on the right of the shot here, Jay. Thank you very much.
One positive of having 2 PCs to broadcast. The other downfall is it makes it a little bit harder to concentrate on what's going on as a broadcaster when you're trying to commentate at the same time. Now, I've just seen Sam Lehman's had a huge issue as well. He's lost all of that gap. Remember, he was battling for 4th. is now at the rear of the GT1 field. So we'll try and pick up a replay of that in a sec, as the GT1 field is sort of splintered a little bit. So we'll try and pick up what's happened to Sam Lehman.
Unfortunately, it's all happened by himself.
Well, he might not want me to show this then.
Yeah, he might not want you to show it, but I think you might as well show it for the sake of completeness. If we're going to be take a bit of tongue-in-cheek there, as here's what's happened to the number 15. Under brakes into the second Mulsanne chicane. The 18 of Lachlan Capel. Oh, dear. Well, talk about woes for cars that are not at fault. The 18 of Lachlan Capel's car has got a meatball flag from being speared by the 15 of Lehman in that second chicane. That was quite unfortunate, because that really shows how delicate these cars are, and not in a good way, given that what it's also done is it's absolutely fractured the field and the GT1 pack. Daniel Webster is trying to hang on to the front too, and now Blake Urquhart is kind of living a race of all on his own there in fourth place. Aaron Raccanello in fifth in class has got Brandon Levin for company, and then it's 7th through 12th in GT1 now, filing their way through the end of the Porsche curves here.
Blake Urquhart needs to be careful too. Remember, we saw how quickly he can drop back with one slowdown penalty. So one slowdown is all it's going to take for him to drop back into Raccanello's little group. So got to be a little bit careful to make sure that he does this all on his lonesome and doesn't have anyone else involved. Just see here a little bit overtaking between Wayne Losh, Aaron Oliver and Moz Moroz. Moroz, I think he got another slowdown exactly as he did the previous lap. No, sorry, it was Wayne Losh last lap. And now it's Moz Moroz this one, and Damien Seeger there as well, also with the slowdown.
Yeah, those slowdowns coming thick and fast. Sam Lehman also picks one up for good measure there. And at the final chicanes, you can see they're trying to bleed it off as they make their way down the front straight. Looks to have got that done there. In the meantime, one of the cars that's actually had to retire from the race, more or less, is Luke Fitt in number 151. And unfortunately for him, he's also got an iRacing black flag outstanding. So some drama there for him. I think that was very early on in the race, though. So in fact, possibly go back all the way to the start of the race with that one. So we'll have to check in on that later. Meanwhile, here's our race leaders as they make their way through the four chicanes once again, in GT4 class, that is. Christopher Hen. Oh, hello. They'll get all kinds of bottled up there together. And in fact, Christopher Hen's going to lose the class lead here on track to Adam Funslow. It's now his turn to jump into the lead class as they come across the line to start their third lap of the race. And order reshuffles itself a little bit more for Caymans and one BMW for good measure. To ensure we can actually say there's some multi-car variety in this multi-car class environment, which is good to see, because it's an Aston Martin party out the front in GT1 still. Our nearest Corvette, unfortunately, is Moz Moroz, who's currently running down in 12th. Going to hunt down the rear of Damien Seeger. And the Corvette, not the preferred pick here tonight, it would seem, by quite a long way as we have a look there. That's on board with Jeff Connell down the end of the Mulsanne straight. And a big roll out of the throttle there for him. Stay on board with him at the end of this straightaway. The car working its way up the gears. Old school vehicle, this car. The Aston Martin, fantastic V12 engine noise, but also things like having almost Australian V8 style setup with a sequential gear stick, and they go roll hard
on the clutch,
full clutch dump from Connell. So trying to do absolutely everything he can to not only preserve momentum, but also saving fuel heavily there. And just about as often as he can for good measure. So those guys, they know what they need to do. Jack Widdiston, meanwhile, it sounded like to him, or to me, he was just rolling out of the throttle and letting the engine braking do a bit of the slowing down there for him. But we'll get back to that, because the fight for P1 in GT4 is still on. They haven't shuffled around on this lap yet, so these guys are still holding position for now. Maybe still looking to do a bit of that fuel saving we're thinking about, as we are now approaching 14 minutes remaining in this race. So the clock continues to tick down here.
I wouldn't be surprised if those ILEC guys are working together. We did see, remember, we saw Christopher Hen swap positions. I mean, it wasn't intentional because it was a slowdown penalty. But I'm wondering if they were going to swap positions for a lap anyway. Being teammates, you alternate. One leads one lap, one leads the next lap. Then means that you're not both burning, or sorry, only one of you burning fuel. Because we've got pit stops happening in GT1. Jack Widders is in. He's had enough of fuel saving. Jeff Connell stays out.
Well, that's quite interesting to see here. 13 and a half minutes on the clock. Probably looking at around
Still another 4 laps.
13 to go here when they come out of lane. That is certainly 4 laps of racing to go. Yes, so that's my concern here. A 3-minute 46 from Jeff Connell, who was riding in second on that lap there. And 3-minute 46 mostly for the cars who stay out behind him as well. So for these cars that come into the pit lane this time by, they're going to be have to be very conservative with the fuel in this second half of the race. Whereas the drivers who can make it work here, which is a total of 5 cars staying out for the time being, as the rest of the field seems to have opted to come in, they're going to be able to go flat out with no concerns in the end phase. And it's not going to be too good here for Jack Widders. He comes out and he's got no one to work with, so he's going to have to do all the fuel saving by himself, which means rolling out early and compromising the straight line speed of the car all by his lonesome. 11 seconds stationary, I presume, just to completely fill the tank back up as much as possible. So we'll see how that plays out as our GT4 leaders work their way through the Porsche curves. Not seeing... Actually, no, there has been a change. Sebastian Varndell has put himself into P2 in class again.
Yep.
And looks to be getting racy again here at the end of this lap. So maybe deciding he's saved enough fuel and he wants the class lead before we come to the pit cycle for this group of cars.
I think everyone's going to pit now because there's a chance that they will get lapped by the end of the race by the leader. So they could end up being 1 lap short. So they want to make sure that they don't overfill the car. One thing I love about this track is the old French horn as they drive in the pits. Not going to pick it up from the camera angle though, unfortunately, but it is very, very cool sounding. The other thing to talk about too, we know that Widders now has to save bulk fuel on this stint. He was talking about how much he was hating fuel saving in that last stint, in that last race. So he's going to struggle now because he's got a fuel save all on his lonesome for this lap. This is his chance of saving a lot of fuel. But in the same breath, if he goes too slow by saving too much fuel, he's going to lose that gap back to Jeff Connell. He may have been smarter to do a sneaky cut track or something, or make it look like he got himself a black flag, let Jeff Connell through, and then use a lap of saving fuel behind him.
Even just rolling out and trying to give the place to Connell. Be curious to see that.
Oh, race on pit road.
Meanwhile, side by side on pit exit, as our GT4 leaders get their stop done here. It's going to be Calix Poon to the front of the field. Fastest in the lane by a good 2.5 seconds here versus the other cars. So Calix running in the middle of that pack. Looks like he's been able to save the most fuel of the Caymans and put that to full effect and get himself out ahead. Now, obviously, those cars behind will catch him here as they work their way onto the Mulsanne straight, all being well and normal and no slowdowns here for these guys. And in fact, that all looks fairly neat and tidy there from all 3 of them. So we should see them all close on in here as Calix will have to
oh no,
just have the car push on it out. Meanwhile, what have you spotted, Jay?
Well, we saw Christopher Hen up in the lead group, but he's no longer in the lead group because this has happened on pit exit. That's Daniel Cheney alongside him in the Fit Stye car.
So another side-by-side, and oh no, the contact collision. Oh, that's messy. And
it's got to meet more flag from it.
That left rear was completely bent and busted. So, fare thee well, Christopher Hen. Unfortunately, your race number 2 is pretty much over. As here comes our GT1 leader into the pits. Jeff Connell brings the car down onto the lane. 9.5 minutes to go. Not even by the time he reaches his pit box at the end of the lane. So, this is the game now. What does Jack Widders have for Jeff? Because now, being at the end of the pit lane here, Jeff will be able to roll straight out of his box into the track. But Widders is already through the final chicane, so this is going to be close, Jay. Has Widders gone full tilt here to try and get onto the rear bumper at pit exit? In fact, Widders has got a chance here of taking the race lead again. As we watch here, Connell on pit exit. Here comes Wittes. No, not quite, but he's in prime position to latch onto the rear now and save fuel hard down the Mulsanne straight, because I don't see Wittes having been able to make that outlap work for him without fuel saving, unless Connell's in-lap had to require so much fuel saving that the reverse of what we were thinking applies here, Jay.
Well, in-lap, let's look at in-lap time for Jeff Connell was a 3-minute 50.7, and then for
Wittes, a
Jack Wittes,
351.7.
351. So we'll see what the lap time is this time around for Jeff Connell. Wittes on his first fly was a 4:17, including the pit stop. So we'll get a decent comparison here. If it's around the 4-minute 15 to 4-minute 18 bracket, you'd say that there was a little bit of fuel saving and they're both evenly matched. But you'd have to say now that Wittes has come out behind Connell, but in perfect position to fuel save. That's put the advantage back on Jack Wittes now to save enough fuel to make it home.
He might be able to make it work indeed. He was rolling heavily there into the first chicane. Dropped from about a top speed of 310 kilometers per hour, rolling it down to about 260 before the brakes properly came on there for that car. As we watch here again into the second chicane, about 305, rolling, and he gets down to about 265 again. So he is certainly doing everything he can to continue to save and save aggressively. Those two drivers are locked in the battle for the GT1 race win. Meanwhile, our GT4 car is still at 3 in the fight. Calix Poon has got Sebastian Vandel closing up onto his rear bumper once again. And Adam Funslow is still in there, but not quite as close as he'd like. He's going to have to get a good couple of runs through the end, well, good run through the end sector here at the start of the next lap to really put himself in a position to be able to challenge down that Mulsanne straight effectively, I'd say here, Jay.
Yeah, agree. It's, now, looking as well, the current gap between Poon and Connell, 2 minutes 24, with 6 minutes on the clock. There'll be 2 more laps. It's going to be 50-50 on whether the GT4 guys get lapped or not. So it's going to be very, very close on whether the entire GT4 field gets lapped. Some of the GT4 field will get lapped, but whether it's the whole field or not is going to be very, very close.
These guys are lapping here in GT4. Around 4 minutes 20 is what they were doing in pack pace.
Yep.
They've just come out of the pits, so see here at the end of this one if their pace has improved here in the second stint. Our GT1 drivers, as we mentioned, in the 347s when racing. So that kind of time delta of over 30 seconds a lap. I think, to be honest, at this stage, it looks like the GT1 car, the leading GT4 drivers, will be safe. Well, won't get lapped, pardon me.
Yep.
Now, what that does for them in terms of fuel strategy might be interesting, because we know they can do 4 laps to a tank. They're on their second lap now.
It's going to force them to do 4. So if they've decided, well, we're going to get lapped, I'll just chuck in enough fuel to do 3 on this second stint, which I would almost guarantee someone has thought of doing. It's going to make it very, very interesting. You're just seeing that Daniel Webster's just had a slowdown penalty. How's this drive from Ross Rizzo? Started last in the group, and he's now got himself back under 3rd. He's done a very, very good job.
He has the 784. Ross Rizzo showing why he's a strong driver in GT cars of multiple types. Come back up to our race leaders. Just over 5 minutes on the clock, so 2 laps for these guys still to come. And we now see here outlap from Jeff Connell of a 4-minute 19.
That's mega fuel save. That's
Indeed.
two and a half seconds slower than what Jack Wittes did for his outlap.
So that is fascinating to see here. Pit stop time. Jeff Connell was faster in the box for good measure, and the lane as well. So indeed, Connell opting to be very aggressive on the fuel save as well. It's quite interesting, because you'd think in that case he's got the fuel to try and break Wittes here, but instead he's
Maybe he knows how marginal it actually is.
because he's lifting pretty heavily into the corners as well.
There's
He's
probably
lifting at the 300 odd board and not braking properly till about the 100-meter board as a result.
Yeah, well, and Wittes too, don't forget, he had to pit early. We're not sure if it was a had to or just chose to. He pit 1 lap earlier, so maybe there is a huge difference in being out there as the lead car
or being the second car in the group, because being the second car in the group in a lot of series within iRacing gives you a huge advantage in fuel conservation. So I'm guessing Jack Whittis now already out of the throttle or already down to like 60 or 70% throttle. That is huge in regards to the amount of fuel he can save.
Well, if the fuel mapping is anything like you might think for an older car like this, that does also make a lot of sense. This is from the era of cars that, well, advanced for the time, certainly don't really hold a candle to the cars of today that we get to see out on track in the advent of forced induction and smaller displacement. This is the kind of car that really tried to sort of beat you over the stick with a big engine and say, I'll do the natural aspiration.
Oh, no.
And oh my
Both
goodness
off.
me. Both off, but Jeff Connell goes all the way to the fence. And he's in. Beach proper. Wowee, that's something I wasn't expecting from the race leaders. Ross Rizzo says, I'll take second in that case. Cheerio. Right so then. I thought
wasn't
they had it under
expecting that.
control.
Yeah, I thought so too, but I mean, we've seen in numerous series that when you start to get those huge fuel conservation gains happening, that you do see mistakes start to happen. I'll tell you what, that was a decent hit in the wall. But yeah, Ross Rizzo's got himself in a position now where he could potentially steal a race win from nowhere.
That he could. He's a lap up on Whittis in terms of fuel burn. Whittis was able to keep it out of the fence though, so the gap is 5.5 seconds or thereabouts. And Rizzo has Brandon Levin behind him for company, so he has to have to look forward a bit, well, look behind him, pardon me, as much as he has to look forward. So the question is now, has that lap and a half for Jack Whittis of a fuel save behind Jeff Connell done enough for Whittis to be able to sort of carry on and be comfortable, or will he have to continue aggressively saving? I'm actually going to go jump up to Mr. Whittis and right on board for a bit and see what I hear. And keep an eye on the broadcast feed in the meantime to keep an eye on what you're seeing there, and along with everyone else. And this is what it looks like out the back of that 898. And yep,
That's
into the
heavy
four
save.
chicanes. He's rolling all right.
Still saving and trying to save even more fuel right in the middle of the corner, in the middle of the chicane too. So he's trying to do everything he can. Now, we've spoken about this many, many, many times before. One of the best fuel-saving drivers in Australia and New Zealand is the guy in this 784, Ross Rizzo. So Jack Whittis has to be careful to make sure that he does have enough fuel in the tank to get this complete lap done, because Ross Rizzo, we know, just based on his way of calculating fuel numbers and his ability to save fuel, that he already has that number well and truly settled in his head. Interesting too, he's just done the fastest lap of the race too, has Ross Rizzo.
3:45.5 played, well, 3:40.51, sorry. But that obviously does involve an off-track and excursion for Whittis. But yeah, Whittis is lifting and coasting everywhere he can. And if I was going to nitpick his approach to the lift and coast strategy, I'm not sure he's doing it in the most optimal way possible. He's getting back into the throttle in some places after he rolls out. He's got to really commit to when he rolls, let it roll. But this time, pretty much, well, it looks like it was pretty flat into that first Mulsanne chicane as we continue to look at the battle here for GT4 leadership. Calix Poon ahead of Sebastian Vandel. They're currently heading down into the Mulsanne. So, yep, I am almost confident they are safe because the race leaders are yet to make the second of the Mulsanne chicanes in GT1, that is. So, I hope these guys know they've got their fuel number worked out and have planned that in accordance, because they've got a lap and about a third to go here, Jay, as they go side by side. Sebastian Vandel up the inside on the run down to Indianapolis and Arnage. Can he make the move stick? Well, we have to wait and see. I've called that a bit too soon. Can he make the move stick? Take two.
Can now. It's,
yes, he
move
can.
Done. Very, very nice move in the end. It took a little bit longer than he would have liked though, because he, as you were saying there, he got alongside, and you did call it a little early because Poon used that side draft to his advantage and just dragged the car up a little bit further, but couldn't quite hold on. Now, last time we looked at the gap between first and second in GT1, it was around about 5 seconds, just under 4.8 seconds or so. And look at it now, 4 seconds.
Rizzo is coming, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's currently got that foot buried with no concept of fuel saving required from him, as you were saying indeed. Meanwhile, Wittes. Yeah, rolling it through the kink in Indianapolis. So he's still... Oh, but traffic for Rizzo.
I think he actually used the traffic to his advantage there to save that tiny little dash of fuel. He's going to get through okay here at Indianapolis, potentially. That was a little bit tight there with the GT4 of Kang, but he got through okay, but it did cost him a second. Jack Wittes can breathe a tiny little sigh of relief there, because that could have cost him the race.
He might have. I think, though, he would have just held on. He's looking fairly up to speed through the entry of the Porsche curves. He's going to probably have to roll here for a Cayman. The 948 there is a Richard Mayer, who actually steps aside quite nicely on the way through. So now just coming out of the Porsche curves to the Corvette curves. One final sequence to navigate here for the 898 of Jack Wittes. I think he's got the job done here, but indeed, the way the traffic flows, that could easily have gone a little bit differently. Probably would have needed the traffic to hold him up. And see here, cars pulling aside. It's going to be 2 race wins for Jack Wittes to start out his season number 6 of Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. And Ross Rizzo probably not too disappointed with a P2 as a recovery drive as well. Meanwhile, Daniel Webster's got a bit of GT4 traffic ahead of him, but...
GT4's had to pit. They had to come into the lane. They did not have enough fuel.
Oh, you're kidding me. Oh, they've
Michael
done it
Healy
again.
has played this perfectly because he has continued on. He's got another lap going, but he's got himself back into 3rd. Remember, race 1, lap 1, he was last overall.
That he was, and well, how about it indeed? So the GT4 cars gambling on the need to pit, well, not need, no, the fact they were going to get lapped. So fuel calculators being thrown out there and then filling the cars up on lap number 3 was not the strategy there, it would seem. So, in fact, guess who holds the fastest lap in GT4 for good measure here, Jay?
Yeah, Michael Healy.
Michael Healy on a 4 minute 16.8. Looking at the lap times, that puts him quite a bit clear of the other drivers in GT4 for raw pace, but I'm going to say that is more to the fuel saving and pit strategy. Looking at it, no, Michael Healy had to come in with all of those guys, Jay.
On that lap there?
Yes, he's only just gone on the outlap as well.
Yeah, he has too. Yes, you are right. I've just noticed that too. So it did trick me with his pit box position and the time, but Calix Poon's lost out big time from the pit stop cycle. So
oh dear,
he struggled big time. He's lost it, gone back to 5th in class.
He lost 10 seconds stationary.
Yep.
Much like another driver who's looks to have made an error with pit strategy was Sean Lacey in the number 19, who a 36-second stationary. So that's a mistake of some kind there from those drivers in GT4. So the class lead in GT4 is now with Sebastian Vandel, and he's got 3 seconds to the good on Adam Funslow. So all being ordinary and in control here, Vandel should have this one wrapped up to make it 2 from 2 in the GT4 class as well for him. As we now watch these cars make their way out of the Mulsanne corner for the final time. And yeah, all fairly evenly spaced apart here, so it's going to take a mistake from these guys to cause any problems as they make their way up the hill towards Indianapolis for the final time here, Jay. We've got, it's just 7 of our GT4 cars that avoided being lapped here, so the race is more or less over apart from these guys here. So we wait to see, does anything come unstuck for any of these guys? You would think at this stage they should have it all under control here, but got a couple of interesting corners here, so never say never, I dare say. I'd probably wager here.
Well, Michael Healy's closing on Adam Funslow, so it's not done. Gap at the start of the lap was around about 1.8 seconds. It's now down to 1.2, 1.3, so one brake lock up, and Michael Healy's going to steal 2nd place away right at the end.
All right, then here's our battle to focus on.
Good at closing.
Make their way up the hill. I get the feeling my JRT is a little bit confused. It insists the gap is about 1.6, whereas I'm seeing there a gap of 0.8, 0.9, 0.8. No, it's going back up again. So For a second, I thought for some reason we had a bit of a runaway situation going on there with the timing, because it just seemed like it was just closing and closing and closing, whereas...
Well, Healy set a lot of purples on this lap. A few purple
Indeed.
sectors on this lap, so he has definitely closed that gap down, but Vandel is going to take this win because he should not be beaten from here.
He should not. He could get a slowdown here, but he won the first race, started from the pole, and has been in that lead pack quite comfortably. So no mistakes from the number 411 as he comes across the line.
Adam
Two from
Funslow's
two.
lost the spot.
Oh! Please tell me we're going to go have a look at replay of that one there, because we thought Michael Healy... Oh, and yep, that's a driver making a mistake who's not impressed with himself, throwing the car into the pit wall at the end of the race. So what happened here into the fortune? Oh, he's very slow on the way in. That gap closed up all of a sudden.
Oh,
There.
he's
He's
got a
serving a slowdown from the Porsche curves.
Yep.
Oh, he'll be... No wonder he's kicking himself. Second place all wrapped up for that car. And it's undone with a small mistake of his own measure. Well, let's run through the race results real quick here, because we've got a couple of drivers looking to have a chat with us. Jack Whittis makes it 2 race wins in the GT1 class here tonight. Ross Rizzo with the 19th to second place drive to recover that one there to finish second. Daniel Webster rounding out our podium in third, unfortunately dropping off what was the lead 2 at that stage in the form of Jack Whittis and Jeff Connell. Brandon Levin holds on to 4th place there. Speaking of Jeff Connell, he's back there to P5. Aaron Olver coming home, in P6 ahead of Nathan Moore in 7th. Wayne Losh 8th, finally breaking up the train of Aston Martins is Sam Lehman. And Moz Moroz rounding out our top 10, and in fact there are 2 Corvettes to actually finish this one, unfortunately. Aaron Raccanello next across the line, 11th place ahead of Lachlan Capel in 12th. And Capel, unfortunately, the victim of a meatball earlier on in that one there. Damien Seeger 13th ahead of Blake Urquhart, 14th, the last GT1 across the line here. And then came our GT4 class. Sebastian Vandel making it 2 GT4 race wins there for himself ahead of Michael Healy in 2nd in class. Adam Funslow, as we saw there, kicking himself, but 3rd will have to do for him there. And Richard Brookfield 4th. Calix Poon running out the top 5 in class with Dennis Gaderick 20th outright, but 6th here in GT4.
Yeah, and the rest of the field, we've got Sean Lacey, who will finish 7th in class, and we've got Jordan Peter and Timothy Audie. Richard Mayer will finish in 10th in class. Chu Kang and Phil Audie 11th and 12th, with Daniel Cheney, Daniel Fleming, Liam Caplice, and Matthew Scarr rounding up the top 30 overall. Top 16 in class. Derek Audie. Then we got Christopher Henn, Matthew Cardellone, and Luke Fitt rounding out our GT4s. Matthew Johnson, John Merritt, unfortunately did not finish in that race either. What a fun start to the series. We've got a few guys in for a chat though.
That we do. We'll start off here first with what I believe will be Jack Whittis. Jack, congratulations there on 2 race wins to start off season number 6 of the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. We saw in the in-game chat there you were having to really stretch the fuel tank there in both races. How much has that kind of changed the strategy for you when you're having to fuel save quite aggressively?
Big time. I was kind of just waiting for the last lap and hoping I had enough to have a go.
Fair enough indeed there. In that second race coming in, the lap before Jeff Connell, we thought was a bit of a gamble there. You're obviously able to come back out directly behind him there. I guess in that circumstance, that was about the perfect scenario for you in that case?
Yeah, I was having a bit of a think about it. I figured if I pitted a lap early, he would have to run an extra lap with no slipstream, so hopefully that'd give me enough to catch up to him.
Indeed, it looks like it did the trick just nicely. And whilst you both ended up going off at the Mulsanne corner, you were able to fortunately pull it up and keep it just out of the walls there. Just a case of, unfortunately, trying to save more fuel and miss the break point a little bit there in that case?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I was just sitting on his tail, and then I started seeing a bit of dirt on the left-hand side. I'm like, oh, we're a bit deep here.
Oh, well, able to get that one back on the way and fend off the charging Ross Rizzo. So well done there on 2 race wins. Does anyone you want to say a quick thanks to here to who gets it done for you with this one?
Just thanks to my family watching back at home, and yeah.
Thanks for that, Jack. Well done with the race wins, and look forward to seeing you in the rest of season number 6 here.
Cheers, boys.
So there, our race winners. or race winner, pardon me, Jack Wittes with the 2 race wins. Now talking to our second place finisher in the feature race tonight, Ross Rizzo, recovering after an unfortunate start to that opening race there, but coming all the way through to second place there. Congratulations on that drive, Ross. How did you get it done there, I guess, just absolutely carving through the GT1 field here tonight?
I'd put the preparation and practice in, but you wouldn't think that by the time we got to turn 2 of race 1. So, yeah, made it hard for myself and a lot of the others in the GT4 class when I tried to rejoin, but with the car was full lock to the right, so I was thinking I was going to rejoin like at out of their way, but little did I know the front end was completely taken out of it, so that ended that. So sorry to all those people involved in that, but yeah, I knew the race pace was good, didn't quite get the quali I was after, but P3 was fine. And yeah, just tried to use the clean air as much as I could in that race. It was really difficult to make passes despite, all the draft and whatnot, because the draft trains just make it really, really difficult. And, you can make up a heap of time under brakes when you, when you've got a bit more confidence with cars that don't have ABS.
Very true there indeed. With the fuel strategy for you tonight, did you sort of have a strategy going into that longer race there, given the pit stop that would be required, or did you sort of work it out there on the fly there as you went along?
On the fly, I was always going to box opposite to the cars in front of me. I had 2 cars immediately in front of me, and unfortunately they split, which was disappointing. I was hoping they'd both do one or the other so I could commit to pitting or staying out. But ultimately that wasn't an issue in the end. And I think unlike most of the field, I took enough fuel. That's a really big kind of gambit as well, so I didn't have to fuel save at all through the final stint, whereas looks like Jack and Jeff were really, really struggling and having to play a few games with each other, and ultimately Jeff came up short, I think, trying to coast on the clutch as he does when he's very fuel compromised, but picked up the scraps where they fell.
Indeed, you were on for a P3 there, but P2 makes it all the more sweeter. Well, before we let you go, Ross, who gets it done for you? A chance to shout out friends, partners, team sponsors and the like.
Quick shout out to Michael Healy in GT4. We shared a bit of bad luck, unfortunately, in that first race, but we both brought home P2 in our respective classes, so at least race 2 went to plan, sort of. So big thanks to Trans-Tasman Racing, Virtual Racing School, TP Race Design, Kart FX Model Cars, Parenzo, and Extreme Motor Trimming, and a big thanks to yourself and Jay for broadcasting the series. Welcome aboard. It's great to be back on SimSpeed.
Appreciate it there, Ross. Thank you very much. And looking forward to seeing you in the rest of the series with the GT3 Racing, but also the Wildcard coming up later in the season.
All right, thanks very much.
So that there was Ross Rizzo, second in the GT1 class. And third driver here real quickly from the GT1 class was Daniel Webster. Well done here, Daniel. A double third place for you. It seems to be a bit of a trend here tonight with drivers that are locking in double podium finishes. Consistency seems to be the aim of the game there for you. Maybe not quite the pace of the cars ahead, but definitely keeping a nose clean. I guess that's the trick here in a series like this, especially with multi-class in play.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good night. A lot of the speed, everyone was sort of just trying to fuel save. So yeah, the fuel numbers sort of told the race today. So who could drive as quick as they can, save fuel, they were the best ones. So yeah, I'm not real good at saving fuel, so I just did what I could.
Fair enough. Yeah, how much of a change did you have to make to your driving style to accommodate the fuel saving out there tonight?
Yeah, a lot. I didn't realise we were going to be that tight in the second race, and all of a sudden I started catching Jeff and Jack, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? Heck, I'm catching them, and I looked down at my numbers and thought, I'm not going to make it home. That's their fuel saving, so I didn't realise until I started to catch them that we were in trouble for the whole race. So I thought after the pit stop we'd be fine, but no, we wouldn't have got enough in to get home, so I had to start straight away.
Yes, indeed. Fuels was indeed the name of the game. We saw it in GT4 as well, so it made for a bit of strategy call there, but done well there on pace. I guess looking forward to the rest of the season. Any further goals and targets for you there here in Oz Pro-Am?
Oh, not really. Just try to be competitive. Just, it's a really good series and fun to just come and race the guys, and everyone races fairly, and it's a really high standard. So it's just, I'm happy to just be competitive occasionally. I'll be happy with that.
Well, it sounds like we've got ourselves a good season to look forward to. Before we let you go, a chance to thank sponsors and partners. Who gets it done for you?
Yep, just Racing Image and the guys at SimRigs in the Discord for the banter and carry on, and all the series sponsors, obviously SimRigs again, Phoenix, CTC, Palmer's, Echuca Toyota and Index. and you guys for doing the stream. Thank you.
Appreciate it very much, Shane. I look forward to seeing you in the rest of the Oz Pro-Am series here as we continue on in the next couple of weeks. Thank you very much.
Thanks, thank you.
And we'll grab one last interview if Sebastian Vandel is here with us, our GT4 race winner, taking on both races tonight. Sebastian, if you're there, hopefully. Indeed, yes, excellent. Good to see you, Sebastian. Well done there. 2 race wins tonight for you in the GT4 class, and also the leading AM driver as well amongst those GT4 drivers. I guess starting a little bit further back in that class, but making good gains in that first race to hold on there in the second race as well. Was it just, I guess, a case of looking after yourself and managing that position in the pack really is what makes it work there for you there?
Yeah, pretty much. I stuffed up my first lap in qualifying and I had to take it easy on the second one and make sure I didn't get any slowdowns or off tracks because I didn't want to be starting from the back, so I just banked the lap in, and then the first race just stuck with the front guys in their toe and kept up with them, and then saved a bit of fuel, and then I jumped them in the pit stop, which gave me a bit of an advantage, and then I think the 2 behind me went side by side, and then I just crossed the line.
Indeed, yeah. The fuel saving here pretty intense tonight in both classes, as it turned out. Did you have to sort of adjust to that on the fly, or would you have that sort of figured out beforehand before coming into the races here?
Yeah, I kind of just figured it out on the fly. I kind of had an idea that we'd only get 3 laps out of a tank, and then sort of calculated that we might have to do a second stop in the second race, which we did. I think it was only like half a lap short. So yeah.
Yeah, we were wondering what the strategy was. We thought maybe you could squeak a 4th lap out of the tank, but in that case, our numbers were a little bit wrong in that one there, because you were the ones driving, so you have the better numbers than us for the time being at least. So well done there. Before we let you go, just a chance to thank any sponsors or partners, anyone who gets it done for you, Seb?
I'd just like to thank my sponsors, Stratacore, Drillers World, Lakes Custom Computers, and Shockwave Signs.
Wonderful there. Thank you very much, Seb. Appreciate that, and good luck with the rest of the Oz Pro-Am series.
Cheers.
Well, I think that's going to wrap us up here tonight, Jay. The interview's done there, and a great way to get the Oz Pro-Am Sim series underway here with us at SimSpeed TV. The Wildcard format, certainly something a little different to what we're used to in terms of the way a league is operated. You often see just the one car type or class type, but it's a little unique, but it certainly works quite well here for the Oz Pro-Am crew.
Definitely does work well, and we get into the season proper in one aspect. I mean, that is season proper starting tonight, but starting the GT3 portion of the season next week at Bathurst means that we're going to see a lot of familiar names and a lot of drivers that really have done a lot of laps at this track, because obviously the Bathurst 12 hour only a couple of weeks ago means that a lot of drivers have done more laps at this track than any other this calendar year. So practice shouldn't be an issue for too many guys, but definitely means that we're going to see some great racing next week when we head to the mountain.
That is true indeed. Well, now we get into the meat and potatoes, as you were, of the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series proper, the GT3 racing coming up for the next couple of weeks here on a Thursday night with us at SimSpeed TV. Before we sign off here, of course, it's acknowledging all of the partners that make the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series for season number 6 possible. The title partner, of course, simrigs.com, along with Phoenix Snokers, and returning partners, also Palmer's Skincare, I believe, a new partner for the series this season, and then returning partners, CTC Computer Technology Corporation, along with Ishuka Toyota and Index Designs, helping make it all possible for us here to see the series on broadcast. Well, thank you all very much for watching, folks. Hope you enjoyed your Thursday evening if you're here with us in Australia watching live, or otherwise watching any other time. We'll be back with this series next Thursday night, same time here on SimSpeed, but until then, or until any other time you catch us live with the various other series that SimSpeed is broadcasting for us, thank you very much for watching with us. My name is Daniel Yeaman, Jake Kennedy alongside me with commentary and production tonight. Hope you've enjoyed the racing, and we'll be back next week for more action. Until then, take care and bye for now.